Let me. I was trying to get my lipstick together. My face is very shiny. I did a nice little serum this morning. Now I'm looking like I'm walking around with Crisco on my face. But that's all right. Better than being ashy. Okay. Hi everybody. Hi Reddick. Okay, let me see.
Your phone sound good?
Yeah. My left and my right side are both working. It looks like I've been sweating, but it's not. It's just serum. I'm trying to lock in my youth before I turn 50. Okay. Let's see if we can... are my shows in order? My talking things? Okay. I hope you all are ready for such an exciting show today. I mean, it's going to be a lot to talk about. We've got a lot to unpack with Will and Jada and Jenny and Clarence. Y'all probably don't know who Jenny and Clarence is. Jenny and Clarence, I'm talking about Jenny Thomas and Clarence Thomas, my favorite. They are the quintessential plantation field Negro marries the mistress of the plantation, the wife, the plantation owner. I think it's great. But it's going to be a good show to talk about all the different varying opinions about what people should do about Will Smith. I kind of feel like, I don't know what should be done. It seems like, the Academy of, the Academy of Motion Pictures, they're going to make their decision. They said it's going to take several weeks for them to do their investigation. Well,
you ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm about to go on real quick. It's kind of...
Give me a second.
I'm ready. Mic check. Can you hear me through this microphone? All right. Tell me when.
3. You are on.
I hope you all are getting ready this morning for It's Debatable with Attorney Nyanza Elmore. It's going down today. Make sure that if you have already gotten up to the plantation, that you please go grab your water, go grab your coffee. You probably don't need the coffee because I'm all the caffeine you need. But just in case you're doing sparkling water, whatever, get everything you need to get at your desk. And if you got liquor in your bag, like my friend Reddick just said on here, if you got liquor in your bag, you might want to pour that into your coffee. Make it look like it's a nice little hot toddy. Say my throat is hurting. But we've got a whole lot to pack up for this show, so I want to make sure you come back in and tune in just about a minute. Yes, come on with the people getting them ready with the coffee tea up. I've got my Smart Water. I've got what's left of my Bavos water, and I'm triple, triple fisted. And I have my good old sparkling water Topo Chico because I ran out of Pellegrino. Topo Chico is number 2 behind Pellegrino for me. So I don't know how you men feel out there, but when I first had the conversation with my husband, we watched the Oscars, okay? I wanted to make this year the year where our children got to see all the pomp and circumstance, but Kennedy and Lincoln were not interested. So my husband and I were just watching it on TV, and I said, was that planned? I didn't even realize he made contact. I didn't realize the hand made contact with the face, the pow, until we went back and had to rewind it. But I just feel like, if you're gonna beat somebody down and risk getting put out of the Oscars and risk getting your Academy Award, whatever club membership revoked, make sure you do it for somebody that's worthy. Yes. You wouldn't do that for a Coach bag, but you would do that for an Hermes bag. Come on, somebody. Y'all know y'all hear me this morning. And Jada Pinkett Smith, she is a Coach bag. She's almost a trash bag because I think it's all Jada's fault. 1,000. I don't care. Sometimes they say, just think about criminals. When they go, if there are 4 or 5 criminals and you had a mastermind that decided to stay at home once he set up how to do the bank heist, he stayed at home. Well, here's the thing. But for the person who planned the bank heist, they wouldn't have robbed the bank. So what happens? The person who came up with the grand scheme to rob the bank is the one who gets all of the time. They get the life sentence, while the person who actually robs the bank, those persons, get like 10 to 15 years. So you have to think about this situation is the same way. I think everything with my legal perspective. I'm like, okay, it's all Jada's fault. They should have said, you know what? We understand, Will. We get it. Will was slapping Chris Rock because of all of the people that have been talking trash about his raggedy marriage. He should have just slapped me in my face because I said that Jada had his cojones in a vice grip because he can't seem to get away of the 5'2" siren. And I think she looks good with a bald head, but who am I to judge? Anyway, I just feel like it's all Jada's fault, and it's because she is a D-list or C-list actress at best. She never got to have her own shine, and oftentimes in Hollywood marriages, let's just take, for example, Melanie Griffith. You remember she was the blonde bombshell that was a super hot star in the 80s and the 90s, and then she kind of fell off with drug addiction. She got married to Antonio Banderas. You know, he played Zorro, and he's Mr. Hot Thing. They were both A-list actor and actresses at the same time when they got hooked up. We used to see them walking down the red carpet looking all swaggery and stuff. And Melanie Griffith, before she got her lips all extra inflated, she looked normal and gorgeous. But what happened? Her ship started sinking, and Javier Bardem became that dude. Not Javier, but you know what I'm talking about. But her guy became the dude. And so she fell off. And then what happened? They ended up having to get a divorce because she could not stand being an actress who no longer had the spotlight. That's obviously probably a little bit what happened to Tom Brady. Y'all, I'm switching around because I'm on before the show. I'm giving you the tea before the show. Because remember Tom Brady, he just retired? Well, he already came out of retirement. I think it's because when he got home with Giselle. See, Giselle, she's pretty much retired from modeling. She's like, dude, I'm a mommy now and I have $100 million of my face in the bank. Well, when Tom Brady went home for 35 minutes, I guess maybe it was early spring break for his kids and he really didn't want to be at home. When you realize I don't like my wife and I don't like my kids. She's not beautiful enough to want me to stay home. My kids are too bad because she has not been able to give them any corporal punishment. So he went back to work. Well, in this instance, it looks like Jada Pinkett Smith, you caused it all, you tramp. You know, and even if, listen, we're going to talk about open relationships today, a little bit about the orgies that have been going on in Hollywood. I don't have the orgies on my running show, but I'm going to put it on there for the second show.
Okay.
But, you know, so today is a special day. I'm recording 2 episodes back to back. So I'm doing 10 to 12 with my regular live show on the TuneIn or the Waze app on 953 Jams if you're streaming. And if you're live streaming, you get to watch me right now. And then right after this show ends at 12, about 20 minutes later, after I get rejudged up, I'm doing another show that's going to, we're going to do from 12:30 basically till 2:30, or trying to squeeze it all in. So that we can make sure we can have some extra time for you guys, because I'll be out next week. Anyway, this show is going to be so juicy and good. We're going to be talking about all the menage a trois, the orgies, the whole open relationship buffoonery. I mean, there's so much sex to talk about. I mean, the only people who are not having sex are Clarence Thomas and Jenny Thomas. Because right then, Clarence said, I'm not going to give you any more of this big black D lady. Because of what you get, you let your text messages get the best of you, and you're on your Twitter fingers and typing all kind of craziness, and they're going to try to kick me out of the plantation and make me a field Negro again, and I can't take it. All right. Good morning and happy Thursday, everybody. Welcome to It's Debatable with Attorney Dianza L. Moore on your favorite station, 953 Jams. And if you're listening on the TuneIn or the Waves app, hello and good morning. If you are having a bit of a Karen moment at your job right now, go ahead and ignore her, because I'm promising you that I'm going to make this show so spicy that you will ignore all of the white microaggressions that are coming your way. And if you have that, and if you are one of my favorite white people, that I hope you are listening to me, then if you have that raggedy boss, you better just go ahead and put on your ear pods and be like, I'm going back to my desk, because I will not let anybody rain on my parade. So for all of you who are on the plantation, white people, you're on the plantation too if you don't work for anybody other than yourself, okay? So welcome to the plantation. And for a field negress, that would be myself, to all of the house negresses and all the house and all of the plantation owners, it is such a fantastic Thursday, because guess what? We got a whole lot to talk about. Now, first, before we move on with what is pursing my lips about Will and Jada, first let's talk about what's going on with SCOTUS. You know, the Supreme Court of the United States. That's SCOTUS's acronym, okay? So when we talk about the insurrection, the January 6th insurrection, it's kind of a situation where we thought that it was relegated to all of the crazy people that were running up and jumping up with guns trying to stop Joseph Biden from being able to become the president. Well, honey, let me tell you something about the behind the scenes. Whenever you have Jenny Thomas, wife of the current Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas, who, by the way, was out sick in the hospital for like 10 days. And I honestly was going to hope he was going to take leave for a long time and say, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and step down and be at home with my wife. But it looks like Jenny Thomas is the one that is leading that household. Let me tell you something about Jenny. Based on the text messages and the and what we've read about what she has said about the January 6th insurrection. She was one of the instigators that let me tell you, Clarence Thomas is the highest ranking black man in America. You don't believe me? Okay. Who's higher? Nobody. He is a justice of the Supreme Court in the United States. He got the top job. He's the HNIC. For those of you who don't know what that means, it means the head Negro in charge, okay? So if you have Clarence Thomas, who I thought was thinking with his own brain all those stupid thoughts he's had over the course of his time on the Supreme Court, but it was basically Ginny. Ginny has given Clarence Thomas his dose of white privilege. So I feel like Ginny is the puppet master. As aggressive as she was, trying to make sure that the chief of staff for Donald Trump was doing everything in his power to stop the liberals from stealing the election and saying, we've got to stop this for the Christian faith. We got to do this for the Lord. I mean, I'm sorry. You know, some people that think that they're Christians really aren't. Some people that think that they're fighting the good fight for the Lord, they really are not. When you're trying to use aggression and force to get what you want when you're not rightfully entitled to do so, that is not of the Bible, Jenny. I'm not sure what Bible she's praying on. But it's not the King James Version. Maybe she has her own special Bible for, you know, Clarence and Ginny, like the people who have reached the top echelon. You know, I have another thing to say. Now that we're about to have 2 black Supreme Court justices, isn't it funny that neither one of them married black people? No, and you know why? Because if you are a Supreme Court justice currently, which is Clarence Thomas, and you're black, you need a white woman to be your wife in order to get that ranking. Especially because George Bush Sr. is the one that put him on the Supreme Court, if I am correct. So when you think about it, I don't really feel like George Bush would have thought that he was as conservative if he married a black woman. Because he wouldn't have been able to know whether or not she was going to end up being Fight the Power, or if she was going to be Hotep, or if she was going to be just one of those little black girls that just doesn't say anything. But he didn't want to take a chance. So George Bush nominated Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas to the bench at a time when he was like, oh, well, his wife is white. He's all good. He passes the non-radical muster test. Because we know that Ginny was probably campaigning very hard for her husband to get that nomination. Because remember, he was a federal judge at first. So when you think about it, she's campaigning on the backside, and that's exactly what you need. Let me tell you something, black people and white people out there. If you don't have a spouse that can promote you and get you what you need and go to bat for you like it's a sales meeting. When I was running for United States Congress, my husband was the biggest cheerleader for me. He ended up being my campaign manager. He promoted me everywhere. Everywhere I went, he was passing out push cards. He was telling the people why they needed to vote for his wife. And guess what? That's exactly what you need in a spouse. Now, we have Ketanji Brown Jackson. She has a white husband. He's a surgeon. He's probably out there campaigning for her every day, saying, you need to pick my wife. You need to let these folks leave her alone. That's what you need to do. He's probably out there talking about how smart, beautiful, intelligent, capable his wife is to everybody who will listen in the white privilege sections. Because black girls are not admitted into the white privilege sections. They have their own little secret meetings. I know they do. You know, the Klan meets in private. I mean, I'm sure that the rich white people of America that are not Klansmen, they're not really racist, but they meet in private as well. Black people meet in private. It's called Black Church on Sundays, you know, and after church, you go to your church lunches and stuff like that. You might go to the revival on Saturday, or you may go to a revival on Friday, but black people meeting in private, like, what should we do in light of how the white people are treating us? Should we just go ahead and turn the other cheek like Martin Luther King, or should we Malcolm X him? What should we do about what's going on? What are we going to do to help Ketanji get a seat? Ketanji already won. Let me just tell you something about these Republicans. I don't really give a good rat's crap whether or not the Republicans vote for Ketanji to be on the Supreme Court. Because right now, the Democrats are in power, honey. And just like the Mitch McConnell regime of the Republicans, they push through every law, bill, every Brett Kavanaugh, every, the lady's name who they push through, who's got like 9 children and a couple of them are black. You know, but she's the one who's very, very conservative. They pushed her through. You only need your majority to win. So I don't even care why they need to say, oh, we want it to be bipartisan to vote for her. Nobody cares about who voted bipartisan, single partisan, nonpartisan, whatever partisan. Because when the person wins, nobody brings it up against except the newspapers when it's the next go round. Well, so-and-so got 2 Republican votes. So what if she got 2 Republican votes or no Republican votes? They don't make the law right now. The Democrats make the law. And to that note, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez stood up last week and said that she believes that Clarence Thomas should resign. Well, I agree. He should resign instead of being able to just withdraw from certain cases. But the problem is the United States Congress dropped the ball and gave lifetime appointments to Supreme Court justices that makes them beyond reproach and beyond review. If you're not allowed to review anybody once they get on a job, you should expect some buffoonery, chicoonery, and some coonery. Okay? You should expect something to pop off. You should expect anybody who says, let me tell you something. My daddy gave me 2 lessons. Number 1, never have a job you can't quit, which means don't join the military. You may not like it. Don't go work for the public. Listen, don't go work as a, and when I was interviewing for law firm jobs, when it was my senior year of law school, actually my second year of law school, I told them, oh, Harris County District Attorney's Office, they said they want to hire me, but they said that I have to commit to working for at least 2 years, or I think it was 2 years with them before I could quit. Or was it 4? No, 4 years before I could leave. And my daddy said, don't take that job, because anytime they make you sign some paper that says you got to stay your black butt there, that's a job that you're not supposed to take, no matter how much money they're paying. And the Harris County District Attorney's Office was paying $2 an hour, basically. I said, let me go on to the plantation and get back with the rich, big law firms, because that's where I belong. You have to know your value system. At that time, my value was to get the heck up out of the ghetto, which is where I was living in law school, in parts of Third Ward that were, not where the rich people are staying, not where the college professors are staying. I was staying in the hood part. So I did not want to live back there any longer, and I did not want to go to the military. And so then my daddy was like, well, you can't even join JAG because you can't quit that job. Well, let me tell you something about a job where you can't get fired, okay? The Texas legislature, or let's just say Ken Paxton, is right now making it so that if you talk about critical race, or he wants to make it so that if you talk about critical race theory, then you're going to lose your tenure as a professor. Now, see, that's a job where they're not supposed to be able to fire you. Kind of a, tenured professor, once they get tenure, they can't get fired without cause, unless they do something really, really stupid and egregious, but really they just really don't get fired. They sit up there and they write papers all day. They do a lot of research, but it's the adjunct professors and the associate professors that really do all the work in teaching the students, because the tenured professors are just sitting up there kicking it because they I got a lot of money. I'm making $300,000 or $400,000 a year for the rest of my life and I don't have to do anything. Anyway, I believe that federal judges, as well as Supreme Court justices, the Supreme Court justices must either have a limit of 20 years, which I know you think that's kind of long, but that's just basically 5 4-year terms. So that basically would get them through a president who got to reign twice, which could be the president that appointed them plus his second term. So that's 2 times. Then we got the new president that may take over. That would be 2 terms for that president. And then the next president that takes over for that one would be a single one. That's why I came up with 5. So 20 years on the bench is enough, because guess why? Every 20 to 35 years, the way of the world changes as far as becoming more modern. Things are different than they were in the 1940s. And let's just say Justice Black used to be the Supreme Court justice who wrote a lot of opinions. And then now we have Justice John Roberts, who is the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. So he kind of decides how the court is going to go. But right now it's a 6-3 majority, and they basically got a super majority. That's why if we term limited them to 20 years, then we would know that those presidents that come along will have a chance to go ahead and replace the justices that are there, because they would automatically be term limited out. That is good policy, because what happens when you nominate, let's just say somebody like Brett Kavanaugh, who's basically, I think, 51 years old. So if he's a 51-year-old presumed sexual assaulter of Dr. Blasey Ford, which she testified before before the Senate committee when they were trying to approve him, you want to make sure that cat only gets to sit in office for 20 years, okay? Because the ways of the world change so much so that the civil rights, well, unfortunately for black people, it doesn't change. We still need civil rights and voting rights. They still haven't given us our stuff. But for everybody else in the world, everything changes every few years in cycles. So you want to make sure that the Supreme Court justices are keeping up with the current times by ensuring that we have current justices who have a current mindset of whatever that current mindset is. So 50 years ago, there were no gay people in the United States. Well, let me say 70 years ago, there were no gay people. That's the way America likes to think of it. There were no gay people and there were no black people that were of marriage. So they could have all these dumb laws saying black people are not really people. We're the Dred Scott decision. I'm only 3/4 a man. I'm not really a man, so I can be considered chattel. Well, we only wanted the Dred Scott decision to last for 20 years. So when they say separate but equal is okay, well, after 20 years, those justices should have been recycled so that we okay, separate but equal is not okay. And it wouldn't have taken all those years to go ahead and change that law to be Brown versus the Board of Education, which was argued by Justice Thurgood Marshall. So when you think about the cycle of the Supreme Court justices, there is no cycling. There's no recycling. There's no turning over of thought processes, because they're not beholden or accountable to anyone. So here's what I implore the Democratic Party to do while they're in power for the next 15 minutes. because once the midterms come, we've already got 64 people are not returning back to their congressional seats. 64 people. So when you have a lot of Democrats that are going to vacate their seats, and they'll have even a lot of Republicans that are going to vacate their seats, well, that's the time that you realize that while the Democrats are still in power, they need to go ahead, somebody, and if you're listening to me, Congressman Al Green, because see, Al Green, I'm calling him out because he's my district. He's my congressman. Thankfully, they moved me out of District 22, which was all Republican, and now I'm in Congressional District number 9. So Al Green, I'm calling on you, Congressman, because I want you to propose a bill, put forth a bill that Supreme Court justices should have their terms limited to 20 years or whatever else you congressmen think is reasonable. If you go by my logic, 20 years is enough. 20 years on any job is enough. And also, if they don't want to do a term limit, then they just need to say that they need to expand the number of justices currently on the Supreme Court by 4. Add 4 more justices. So make it 13, baby. Because that way we have a balance of power, and we no longer would have this 6 conservatives and 3 liberals that can never get it. Let me tell you something. They are going to reverse course on all of the things that have happened in the last 50 years. Donald Trump ran on a position of, I'm going to put us back, make America great again. Make America great again by stacking the federal judges to make sure they're all conservative. The 116 vacancies that President Obama left, thinking that he was going to give those seats for Hillary Clinton to fill. Well, let me just tell you about that. You never know what the future is going to hold. So since the Democrats don't know what the future is going to hold, I'm going to tell you what your future is. You remember, I have a crystal ball sitting up here. As a matter of fact, if you can look at me on the streaming, I have a hand fan with some swirls on it. I'm trying to make you very, very sleepy. If you're listening to me out there, I need you to get inside of your congressperson's head and say, please, please, please propose a bill to increase the number of Supreme Court justices right now. Put forth the bill before November. As soon as Ketanji takes office, somebody needs to put up a bill to say we need to expand the Supreme Court by 4. That way, the liberals would have a 7-6 majority over the conservatives, all right? And even if they only expanded it by 3 and make it a 6-6, it would deadlock it, but then it would stop them from changing things. We're going to go ahead and cut to a commercial really quickly, and then I'm going to come back with you with some Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith news. It's all her fault, that tramp. All righty. I hope you like that first part of the show. We're going in. I had to go ahead and get with Clarence Thomas and Jeannie Thomas first. Because you know what? You always have to wonder, where are the spouses of the Supreme Court justices? What do they look like? What do they eat? What are they eating? Who are they watching on TV? What would they vote for? We already know that Brett Kavanaugh voted for Trump. I mean, because Trump, of course, nominated him, and we already know what he thinks. We already know that. What's the name of the white lady on the Supreme Court that they just put on there? The one that said that she's gonna roll back abortion. You know, the woman with a vagina that acts like she doesn't have one. So one thing that we can say about this now, in one voice, I'm like, I don't want them to terminate gay marriage. All right, I don't think that's a good look. I don't want them to also alleviate a woman's right to get an abortion if she wants to. I don't want them to get rid of that. I do want them to, somebody needs to revoke Citizens United. So I'm not sure if there are any cases out there on the district court levels. See, if you don't know how the Supreme Court works, the first level in any action is the trial court level. They call that the district court level. That's the federal district court level. After that, they have the appellate level, which is the 3-judge panel typically that hears the appeals for people that lose on the trial court level. They appeal to the Court of Appeals. So after the Court of Appeals says, okay, you're still losing, you can appeal to the United States Supreme Court. They will either entertain your argument or not. They may grant you a writ of certiorari, say, okay, come on and bring your case up. Or they'll be like, huh?
Sandra Day?
No, not Sandra Day O'Connor, the other. What's the latest? The one that was Trump's nominee. Anyway, so if you have the Supreme Court at the top, well, you have to think that if you have federal judges that are conservative, that were appointees by Donald Trump, Obama left 116 federal judge vacancies, which means Donald Trump filled all 116 with conservative justices at the appellate level. So where Barack stacked the Democrats and the liberal justices at the district court level, well, he forgot about the Court of Appeals because he wanted to leave that to Hillary and leave her some space. Well, I'm sorry. For the man who could not even get his own Supreme Court justice picked through. You would have thought that during that extra 300 days where he was twiddling his thumbs, like, I don't know why that Mitch McConnell will not let me go ahead and have Merrick Garland as my nominee. I don't know. Can somebody tell me why, please? No, the white privilege door shut on Barack Obama. And when that door shut, I'm really surprised that all of his handlers and all those people that were in his corner, like Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, didn't say, don't worry about it, Barack. Don't even worry about it. We know that Hillary's getting her campaign ready. I think that since we have seen what Mitch McConnell will do to you and Donald Trump will, and what can be done to you, you need to go ahead and fill all of those vacancies. All right? Because don't take a chance that Hillary Clinton will lose and Donald Trump will fill those vacancies. But what happened? Nothing happened. So what happened? Donald Trump got to fill all of those courts with conservative judges who then, when they get the liberal judges at the lower court levels that are ruling in favor of, citizens' rights and plaintiffs' rights, then you got the Court of Appeals justices on the conservative court saying, no, the people weren't right. So I got to go back on. So I had to give you that background to the foreground because sometimes you may not understand how the courts work, how they become supreme.
3, 2,
Hold on.
you're on.
All right, everybody, I'm back. I was giving, if you're listening to me on my live stream on Nyanza Elmore on Instagram and Nyanza Elmore on Facebook, you got to tune in to exactly the makeup of the court. I expanded just a little bit about what happens, if with the court levels. The lower court level is called the trial court level. That's the district court, federal district courts. If you lose in the district court, you can appeal to the Court of Appeals. That's the second layer. That's it's not just one judge. It's like 3 to 6 or whatever however many judges they have in every different state or the districts. They rule to see whether or not your case is good or they should kick it back down to the trial court to make them redo it. Well, if you leave 116 vacancies in the courts of appeals and just a few of the district courts, then the conservatives fill those justices. What that means is the courts of appeals are reversing those conservative federal judges who are also lifetime. Let me tell you something. Federal judges are lifetime appointments. Do you hear me? Federal judges are lifetime appointments. That needs to be undone, canceled out, terminado, because we need to make sure that if the Democrats win an election, which is exactly, let me break it down this way. The last 2 presidential terms where the Democrats won the popular vote, but the Republican got to take the office was when Hillary Clinton won the popular vote and lost to Donald Trump because of the Electoral College, okay? But that means the citizens of the United States of America were more liberal and liberal issues than conservative. So what that means is when you let the Republican take the office and go ahead and put appointments to all the 116 federal judge positions, and gets to put up 2 or 3 Supreme Court justices during his tenure, it's not the will of the people. Donald Trump never had the will of the people because the people voted for Hillary because she had the majority. So we don't ever want to be in a situation like we're in now, where we have a supermajority of the conservatives, the 6 voters on everything, and then you have a super minority, a weak minority with the 3 Democrats. So when you have a weak minority and you have a president who is now the Democratic president, because guess what? That would mean 2 terms, that's 8 years back to back, the people voted for liberal policies. They supported Hillary Clinton's policies. They supported Barack Obama's liberal policies. So that's 8 years of Obama as a Democrat. That would have been 4 years of the popular vote winning Hillary Clinton as a Democrat, and 4 years of the popular vote winning and the Electoral College vote winning Democrat Joe Biden. That basically would have given us our 20 years that I was talking about earlier, where Democrats have always had the support of the citizens of the United States of America. Hands down. I don't care how many conservatives are out there. I don't care how many conservatives they have on the Supreme Court of the United States. It doesn't really matter, because the will of the people is going the way of the liberal movement. Do you hear me, y'all out there? So, like I said earlier, if you only had 20-year terms, then that would go ahead and alleviate what we have now, which is we have 6 people on the conservative Supreme Court that are ruling against everything that the liberal majority voters in the United States want. We wanted liberal views. We wanted black wokeness was okay, which is basically black votes. Women wokeness was okay, which was basically women getting a right to terminate their pregnancies if they want to. We had liberal wokeness with the gay community, with gay people being able to get married. That's what the liberal people wanted for the last 20 years. That's what they voted for. They did not vote for a conservative president. They did not vote for conservative values. Majority of the people that were polled said that they don't have a problem with women getting abortions. A majority of people that were polled said, I think it was split as to where they have a problem with gay people getting married. A majority of the people polled said they don't care that much about voting rights. They want everybody to have an equal share at voting. So I don't know why in the conservative think tanks that they are always voting against what the will of the people is. Let me tell, well, I said I didn't know why, but I was lying. I know why, because they understand fundamentally that politics is local. Politics is local. They have spent this last term of losing, when they lost out to Joe Biden, they spent this last term getting all of the locally elected officials from the school boards, okay, to the people that run the elections in their local, the county elections people, rewriting state legislation to make sure that they could go ahead and have the person in charge of the elections be people that they chose in the conservative party. So if you have all of these people that are smart enough to, when they lose, they go back on to their camps, and I call them, they're having their private privilege meetings and say, okay, we got our butts kicked by the liberals, but they're so busy at the top, they're not worried about what's happening at the bottom. So at the bottom, they're like, okay, we need to go ahead and run everybody for school board so we can make sure that we keep all of the stuff about slavery out. We want to make sure we don't teach about what gay is in elementary school. And first of all, let me just tell you something. Nobody ever taught anything about what gay was the whole time I was in public school. It's not a thing. They don't teach you about sexuality. All they teach you they do teach girls in health class at the end of I think in 5th grade, well, you're going to have a menstrual cycle. That's what I remember. You'll have a menstrual cycle. And that's what girls have that boys don't have. That's all they taught. There was no sex education class. I don't think that there's a space for people to be worried about, are you talking about don't say gay? It's not an issue because nobody's saying gay right now. And so it's not a part of science, is not a part of history, math, whatever, reading, so I don't even know why they're making a big deal out of it. So what I've noticed that the Republicans or the conservatives are doing, they're making it seem like these are some pressing issues when they're not issues. It's kind of like when you talking about slavery. There's never been so much talk about slavery to where the white kids, once they graduated from high school, all of a sudden wanted to join the Black Panther. So what are the white people afraid of? There's nothing to fear. Well, you can still teach people about slavery. Everybody already knows about slavery. I mean, come on. Across the world, the United States made 400 years worth of slavery. Do you really think that you're not going to be able to talk about slavery when you talk about the U.S. history? Hello. Not everybody got the right to vote at the same time. Unless you're going to start the history of the United States at the point of Reconstruction and not exactly how we revolted against the Queen and decided to start our own country. Like a major insurrection that actually was the American Revolution. Hello. When we think about our history and you think about from the 1300s to the 1450s, the 1600s, all the way up to the 1776 when the United States got its independence from Great Britain, well, they tried to do it again in January 6th. So when you think about what the conservatives are trying to do at the local levels, they're doing a great job of scaring their own voters to the polls. They want to make sure, they want to say, oh my goodness, if we talk to our children about what gay is, something's going to go happen. Well, they're not, nobody in kindergarten, first, second, or third is worried about what's happening. They're worried about who do I get to play with on the playground? How long do I actually have to go take a nap during nap time when I'm in elementary school? Do I get to eat snacks at lunchtime? They're worried about that. They're not worried about sexuality. So I don't even know why the Republicans are trying to scare everybody that like this is going to make their kids turn to be gay. Anyway, also, if you teach your kids about Black history, which is American history over here, we built this country, they got to say it. They're still going to learn it anyway because I think that young people today that look back and see everything that their parents did that was wrong. A lot of these conservative parents are getting backlash, I'm sure, from their children. Like, Mom and Daddy, you need to wake up. The world has changed. Nobody cares about this. Everybody's equal. And I agree. Everybody is equal in my eyes, but in the conservatives' eyes, everybody should not be equal. They want to make sure they keep their privilege. Okay? You know who I'm talking about when I say they. It's not the Black people. It's not the brown people. It's not the yellow people. It's only the white people. They have all the privilege. We don't have any privilege. But guess what? Black privilege woke up at the Oscars. Yes, it did. Let me tell you how. if you watch the Oscars and you had an opinion, I don't know what your opinion was at your household, but in my household, my instant reaction was, it's all Jada's fault, period. What Will Smith did was a culmination of a year-long discussion of his wife, her cheating ways, how whack she is. And here's the way I think about it. When you take Javier Bardem and Penelope Cruz, and you see two A-list actors that are married to each other, and you also have, I forgot the name of the lady, Melanie Griffith, who was married to Antonio Banderas, and they were both A-list actors. Well, Melanie Griffith ended up with a drug problem. Yes, she did, because she was fighting battles of depression. So she decided that, you know what, I'm just going to just go ahead and raise my kids with Antonio, keep getting my lips injected, keep getting my face injected, and just go ahead and sit in the background. But they, I think, ended up getting a divorce, I believe, because... What's the name?
In 2015.
Okay, yeah. So they got a divorce in 2015. So because she basically just couldn't handle all the pressures of not being an A-list actress anymore. So Antonio was like, look, baby, I'm Zorro. I got to Z you out of here. So, but in the case of, let's take Bruce Willis and Demi Moore. They were two A-plus list actors. They were both able to walk down the red carpet in high style, and everybody was like, yes, 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 come on, Demi, bring the thunder with your good looks. And yes, Bruce Willis, bring it on with your handsome looks. Well, they made a great Hollywood A-list power couple because both of them were A-listers in their own right. So they were basically equally Hollywood yoked. Well, now let's go on to our current situation. Jada Pinkett and Will Smith. Now, Jada Pinkett Smith, I don't think that she was a D-list actress. You know, she was able to get, I think she made a couple of appearances on In Living Color, maybe. But I know that she was on the Bill Cosby show about going to college. She was on there a couple of times. And then she got to be, she stood in to be a person that was on Will Smith's Fresh Prince of Bel-Air show a couple of times. And let me tell you something. Let me tell you something about thoughts, okay? Now, Will was married to the beautiful and gorgeous, I forgot her name. I think her name is Cherie, before Jada. Well, Cherie divorced him. But they have a son together, I believe, who's 23 years old. He looks like his mama too. She's like hands down gorgeous. She's also one of the newest housewives on the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. So y'all have to look out to watch her. I guess she's probably going on there with Garcelle so they can have two black girl magics. But so Cherie is a gorgeous woman. Well, she ditched Will. We don't really know why, but she's a minister, y'all. She's an ordained minister. She's very much in the word, and she seemed like she's a good person with a good heart. And apparently, when she was watching the Oscars in a private viewing party that had some of the other women from the Housewives there watching as well, when the slap happened, Cherie got her bag and her I guess her one person that she had there with her, and they left the party. So they left the party, and then Cherie went down to the private, to the home of Will Smith for the after Oscars, like, oh my God, let's talk about what happened. And they took a bunch of selfies, they took a bunch of pictures, and she was basically in solidarity with the Will Smith gang. So she had her 23-year-old son there that is shared by Will, and then she was there, and then of course they had Jada Pinkett there with her children that she has with Will in their like little family hubble, like let's get it together, let's see what's going to happen. And they took a picture where they, she was holding the Oscar, and they were all happy, which I want them to be happy that he won the Oscar. So we know that Cherie, I think he needs to just go back and marry her. If Will can get his cojones out of the vice grip that is Jada, then he needs to go marry his ex-wife. But I don't think she would even marry him now, because for whatever reason, she divorced him at the height of his career, when he was going on the precipice from being on television on the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air to being a movie star. Anyway, with regard to the slap. Now, there's a couple of ways that people have been looking at Will Smith laughing at the joke. My husband included, he thought, like most people think, that Will was laughing at first, and then he was like chuckling, going hard, and then all of a sudden, oh, because of Jada, he goes up there and slaps Chris Rock. Well, I don't really think that. If you recall, Will Smith just had a tell-all book that he had out that was a New York Times bestseller. Now, here's what I have to say about being on the New York Times bestseller list. If you're a New York Times bestseller, more than likely your own publishing house purchased 100,000 copies on day one to make sure that you hit the bestsellers list. And then they're going to take the 100,000 copies and give them away for free to people. Okay? That's how they used to do it in the old school. Allegedly, when it came time to artists, when they were having their hit records released, they would go ahead and their record label would buy 100,000 copies of their record on day one to automatically make them come out as a gold record. Well, I believe this is what happens with Will Smith's book, because they said, oh, it's a New York Times bestseller. Well, I don't know who read it. I'm on Audible. I mean, I'm an Audible superstar, and I read every day. I was never interested in what Will had to say. I need Jada to write a tell-all book. I want to hear everything about Augustina Linus or whatever his name is. I want to hear everything about all the affairs that she had. I want to hear everything about how she felt when Will Smith was allegedly hanging out with Margot Robbie. Isn't that her name, Sherelle?
Margot Robbie.
Margot Robbie. So at the end of the day, I know that Will was doing his own running around, but I need Jada Pinkett Smith to talk about why she thought there was a need to put her infidelity, whether it is sanctioned by Will Smith or not, with his dumb behind. Will, you are a dummy. Do you ever think it's okay to let your A-list, you're an A-list actor. That's number one. You have a D-list wife who's pretty, who birthed your weird children for you. And I'm calling them weird because they are kind of weird to me. They don't look a little bit normal. And based on the way that Jada and Will are raising them, it doesn't seem like they turned out very regular. Seems like they got a whole lot of baggage that's probably going to show up when they turn 30. And they're going to write their own tell-all books about living in the house of corruption, living in the house of crazy. Or I need to hear from Jada why she thought it was okay to basically disrespect her A-list husband when he is the sole breadwinner of the household. And they are living on a 150-acre plot of land with a 25,000 square foot mansion. You want to know how I know that? Because the very next day after the Oscars, they had to call the police because somebody had a drone flying over their backyard just to get the essential take on what was happening behind the scenes or in the family compound. And so the police came out there. They were not able to find the drone. No one knows whether it was Will Smith's family that called the police or if it was the neighbor that called the police. But the paparazzi is working overtime trying to get some pictures and snippets, because the paparazzi did get a chance to catch Chris coming out of his train when he was in Boston when he was about to do his comedy show. But I digress. Let me just tell you this. In Will Smith's book, he claims that his mother was beaten by his father. Like she was a victim of domestic violence on another level. So he got up seeing, he was raised seeing what aggression looks like, and to, you know, I guess work it out with punching or slapping somebody. Like his dad was punching and slapping his mama, and he got to watch. I really honestly think that's what people say. I don't really agree with that. I mean, I don't know if seeing your dad, my dad didn't beat up my mom, but I don't know if seeing my dad beat up my mom would go ahead and make me slap somebody 50 years later. I'm just saying, you can't blame everything on your childhood. I think you have to just go ahead and be in the present and say, I did it. It was whack. It was an assault, a physical assault. Chris did not deserve a slap in his face as a man. Let me tell you something. Chris Rock's children were watching too. All right? He has kids too. And I'm sure Malak Compton that's his ex-wife, Malak Compton, formerly Malak Compton Rock, was watching too, to see her ex-husband get smacked across the face by a grown man. Chris Rock is 57 years old. I don't think he's ever been slapped in the face by a man. I don't know if his daddy is around, but I'm sure his daddy probably didn't smack him in the face either. So he's got this 53-year-old Will Smith going up on stage, two black men in tuxedos running around acting like they from the hood. I'm just saying. He just basically ghettofied the Oscars. And you know what? Let me tell you something. I thought when they panned to when they said that, you know, when he made the joke that she was looking like G.I. Jane, I thought it was about her dress, which is a very poor choice of what she wanted to wear. I thought from afar. Remember, I didn't have my glasses on while I was watching the Academy Awards. I was just watching it on my TV. But it looked like her dress was doing too much for a woman who's only 5 feet tall. That dress belonged on a woman who's at least 5'11" like myself, who could actually carry that kind of dress. I thought that he was talking about it was green like camouflage, and that it was just an ugly dress, and that it went all up her neck like it was wintertime and she was going to combat. Like she was wearing a commander's uniform at the top, like she's commanding Will, but she has all these ruffles at the train. So for me, I just thought he was talking about her dress, which I also thought would have been in poor taste, because if you notice, he had good jokes for Penelope Cruz and her husband. But and which was basically like, oh, if your wife doesn't win the Oscars, then you better hope you don't win. Basically, 'cause she'll be so mad she'll take it out on you. I'm sorry, Chris Rock, aren't you divorced? Wives don't act like that. Maybe that's how your wife would have acted, but not wives I know. The wives I know would have been like, baby, at least one of us won. Come on, let's go celebrate. Let's go dancing. I'll get it next time. I mean, that's a good wife. So maybe Chris Rock was putting out his own jokes based on some of his whackness that he experienced in his marriage, like his wife was jealous of him. I don't know that. I'm just alleging that. But I honestly thought that he was talking about her dress because I didn't like the dress. But when I realized that G.I. Jane, played by the magnificent Demi Moore, and, you know, she shaved off her long locks just to do that role, I forgot they were talking about Jada Pinkett Smith's hair. Because let me tell you something. She says that she has alopecia. She did this big old red table talk about coming out about it. Was it 2 years ago or maybe 2019 or 20 that she shaved off all of her head because she had bald patches that were forming? Well, I think it's okay, but I thought that she probably should have just worn a wig. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if she needed to just shave it off. But her daughter also shaved off her hair to be in solidarity with her mother, which I think is very, very honorable. A lot of girls do that with their moms. When their mom gets cancer, they shave off their hair as well. We see it all over. But I do believe that it was quite hypocritical for Chris Rock, since he was making a joke about her hair and Nyanza thought it was about the outfit, since it was about her hair, Chris Rock was all the way wrong for talking about Jada Pinkett Smith's hair and making a joke out of it, essentially heckling a black woman about her hair when he came out and did his own documentary about black hair and black women's hair and the things that they go through with their hair. So he did it, and he said for his daughters, so they wouldn't feel a stigma about how they have to wear their hair in European fashion styles or whatever to make the white people be more calm. You know, there's a going joke around black girls who get relaxers to straighten their hair out. You know, relaxers keep white people relaxed at the corporate offices. They don't want to see black girls coming in there with an afro or going in with a whole bunch of dreadlocks because the white people are going to be scared and think you're too woke. And they may think you're going to come with a bone in your nose the next week or thinking everybody's going to join the Black Panther. So that's why they see black girls getting relaxers to press out their hair. I've been addicted to the creamy crep, but I haven't had a relaxer in like a year and a half. But I also wear my hair in weaves and braids whenever I want to. So Jada chose to go bald and be just about it. And so I feel like if Chris Rock was making a joke about Jada's hair, it was in poor taste. But I also don't think that Will Smith seeing his wife not smile. Now, I thought Will was smiling and laughing because that's what he is used to doing. I really don't think he was laughing at the actual joke about his wife because I'm hesitant to believe that any man who has his wife on his arm that has children would laugh at a joke in such a public forum on a public world stage at a joke being made at the expense of his wife. I think Will Smith's initial reaction was to be like, ha, 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 yeah, under his breath, like, yeah, MF, I'm gonna get you outside. But instead, the cameras just got the laugh and did not get what he was thinking in his brain. Like, I have to laugh to keep from cursing your butt out. And then, because his wife was not able to laugh, like, okay, you got me, and fake it, you know, which is what people wanted her to do, and it all showed all over her face how upset she was when he realized that it was too strong of a diss for his wife to even fake the Hollywood laugh, that you know them two black people married in Hollywood had to laugh at a whole bunch of black jokes, a whole bunch of jokes about black people, go to a lot of movies where it seemed like they were not portraying black people the right way, had to shake a lot of hands. I mean, think about it. Will and Jada are Scientologists. They're polyamories, whatever you call it. They like to screw everybody but each other. People used to say that Will Smith was bisexual, but people said that Jada Pinkett Smith was bisexual as well. Well, they're just polyamorous people. But at the same time, I thought polyamorous people were more loving. I thought that they didn't deal in violence. So I believe that Jada's inability to maintain her composure and laugh it off like they probably promised each other. Now, see, they did this little, I don't know if it was an Instagram live or Facebook live where they did this thing where they did this picture like this. They're about to bring the chaos to the Oscars. I don't know if they mean chaos like be ready for something that's about to happen, means that we're not going to take any crap, because I'm sure that when they walked the red carpet from the award show that they were on, I think it was the Daytime Emmy Awards, when they were walking the red carpet and they were heckled, well, I guess Jada was heckled and Will was basically right alongside her when they were heckled about Jada having entanglements. Now, they had the transgender person, I forgot his name, the transgender person on the red card saying, oh, Jada, we'll be looking forward to some more entanglements. And that person said that to Jada. And then Jada's like, oh, no more entanglements, no more entanglements. And then Will said something, but I didn't really hear what he said because it was kind of like an afterthought. But they probably made a pact after that. So let me tell you something, baby. Anytime, let's agree to something. Anytime one of these fakers, faking like they love us, that really don't care anything about us, that want to just laugh at us and heckle us about our marriage, anytime we hear anybody dissing either one of us, we will make sure we stand up for the other. Because Jada was probably a little bit mad that Will Smith did not cut in and check the woman on the red carpet that said that about Jada and her entanglements. Instead, in that instance, which I think was a bigger deal, Will should have smacked that woman that said that about Jada at that time. Laverne Cox. You know, we're going to call him Vern Cox because he's a man. So if Vern Cox said that about his wife, then he should have smacked him. But he didn't. Unfortunately, he saved it for Chris Rock making a hair joke about G.I. Jane at the Oscars in a tuxedo. Just the tuxedo shoes alone and all the sparkles and diamondy crusty outfit that he had alone with his custom tux should have been saying, look, I'm too dressed for this mess. So I'm not going to be coming out of pocket when I'm in this space. But if he had gone up to the stage, he had like 5 long steps to take before he actually got onto the stage. He had 5 steps to rethink what he was going to do when he got up there. I don't know if he decided when he was walking that he was going to smack him, or I don't know if he was going to be like there and grab the microphone and say, don't talk about my wife and apologize to my wife. That would have been better. And then he could have taken his seat. But for some reason, I believe that if you go back and listen to it, when Will Smith was walking those 5 long strides up to the stage is when Chris Rock said, uh-oh, here comes Richard. So Chris Rock still couldn't shut his mouth up. When he was like, okay, now you got Richard coming. He should have just kept his mouth shut. Or he basically should have just handed the microphone to Will. That's what I would have done. I would have handed it over. But what did he do? He took the slap like a champ. Yes, he did. Even though, if you look at the freeze frame of the photo, he had his fist balled up. Yes. The left hand Chris Rock had his left hand down at his side, and the right hand had his fist balled up, like for 1 second, one slither of a second. He thought, I'm about to clock this dude. But the angel spoke, and God said, no, you're not. He said, just make a joke and laugh it off. And so that's what Chris did. Because Will Smith had 5 long steps to take that and just change course correct and not hit him. He could have just said something verbally, and then Oscars would have gone and he still would have been a member of the Academy. I think they're going to vote him out. But instead he didn't. With Chris Rock's millisecond of a sentence, he changed. Instead of using that balled up right hand fist to punch him, he didn't do that. I'm going to go ahead and cut to commercial right quick. Y'all go back and look at the freeze frame of all the images that you've seen on social media. Go back and look. Chris Rock has his hand balled up in a fist. Yes, he did. Be back in a minute. Yeah, Chris Rock had to make a decision too. How do you respond if somebody comes up and smacks you in the face when you're dressed in all your nines? How do you respond when you know that your wife and your ex-wife and your children are watching you? Your daughters just watched you get hit by an A-list actor. Now, Chris Rock is an A-list comedian. You know, he's bringing in the coins. But at the same time, you've got Chris Rock who made a decision that was more professional and more adult, and what America needed to see. That all black men are not violent. They're just not. Some black men can literally take it on the chin and turn the other cheek and make a joke about it and move on. They don't do things that will cause them to possibly destroy their ability to remain on the Academy, remain a part of the Academy. They don't do anything livelihood. You know, most men will think about it before they make that knee-jerk decision. Those people who have a lot to lose should think twice. You know, I feel like Will Smith, he should have smacked Jada. B, you got me in all this stuff acting a fool for you. Now she didn't deserve that. She wasn't a loyal and faithful wife. No, she was not. They were on the red carpet at the Emmys. He didn't say nothing to Laverne. He didn't say, shut up, talk about my wife. You're disrespecting us. That would have been his moment to do that. If Will Smith had enough guts to say that to Laverne Cox on the red carpet, don't talk about my wife and don't talk about my wedding. Don't talk about my marriage. Let's just keep it about the Emmys. Then that would have shut it down for everybody. But when you don't let, when you let that first opportunity to check a bully pass you by, then you're going to be bullied forever by that same bully. You know what I'm saying? Listen, turn the other cheek does not work. It doesn't work. It only worked when we were trying to get civil rights. Because we knew that since black people didn't have a right to vote at all, and we wanted civil equal rights, that we needed to be friends with the white people, which I understand, because white people were in power. And there's a whole lot of white people that were fighting for civil rights on behalf of black people that knew that they were the ones. Remember, the president is the one who gave 1963, who gave civil rights to black people. It was the president. He signed the order. So when you think about it, you think about all of the white politicians that were in the House and the Senate at the time in 1961, 2, and the lead up to 63, all of those white people were okay with black people having the right to vote and expanding their equality. Well, that's when it's okay to turn the other cheek. All right, that's when you've been turning the other cheek so long that both cheeks are bloody and pulverized. You don't have any, you turn the other cheek, you turn the other forehead, you turned everything you had. So at the end of the day, if you are in a space where you turn the other cheek so much, you're going to end up getting the Civil Rights Act of 1963 passed, which is great. So now, but it doesn't work in regular life. It doesn't work when you're dealing with people on a social level. When you have Will Smith who let he and his wife get heckled by Laverne. Okay, I got to say this for the air. All right, I'm going back on the air. So I'm saying.
You ready?
Yeah, hold on. All righty, everybody, we're back. And I was talking about turn the other cheek before I left for a minute. And here's what I have to say. When the Civil Rights Act of 1963 was passed, it was passed because white people in Congress, white people in the Senate, and the white president voted for it to pass. White people were the only ones who got to vote for the civil rights legislation. So, in that space, white people had black people's backs on a whole. The whole country. It didn't matter what the South was doing. It didn't matter what the Jim Crow laws were doing to black people. What happened was a majority of white people understood that black people deserved the right to vote and black people deserved the right to be treated equal. And all this separate but equal crap that was going on in school systems was not worthy. Well, turning the other cheek only works in civil rights movements, okay? When you're fighting for equality because you're on the world stage and you don't want to be known as violent and you cannot go the way of Malcolm X and say, when they punch us in the face, we're going to shoot them with a gun. We don't want that. So now, but I'm taking it to the playground because this is essentially what happened here. They took it to the playground, took it to the streets. You have two black men in black tuxedos. They both look very dapper. I was very, very excited to see how well they looked, how great they looked. But Vern Cox should have been smacked in her face, or she should have been read her rights when Will and Jada were heckled by her about their entanglement. If Will had stepped up at that very moment while live television was rolling and checked Laverne Cox for disrespecting his wife about her entanglements and said, hey, don't talk about my marriage. Why don't you just talk about the film? That would have shut everybody in Hollywood down, and they would have known that they did not have permission to talk about Will and Jada at these events. They would have known to keep the jokes about the movies, keep it light, don't do anything because Will is a little cray-cray about his wife. But the problem is, Will and Jada have played the game so long, pretending very well that they basically know how to just roll with the punches and let everybody say what they just want to say. But because they were pretending for such a long time, the issue becomes, well, now what do we do when it's actually really happening? What do we do when it's actually happening? And unfortunately, for Will and Jada, it's like they chose the wrong space. They really Will chose the wrong space to go to bat for his wife. Will should possibly, if he had checked Laverne Cox at the outset, everybody in Hollywood would have been on notice. Now, Also, I guess Will maybe had to weigh his cost-benefit analysis. If I check Laverne Cox, people are going to have a nasty attitude towards me, and they're not going to vote for me for the best Oscar, for the best actor Oscar. They're going to think that I'm not playing the game well in Hollywood and not rolling with the punches. Well, I kind of believe, just a little bit, that Will Smith wanted to check Laverne Cox, but he didn't because of that. He wanted to get the votes from the people in the Academy because he had already felt what it felt like to be snubbed for Muhammad Ali, which I think that he was nominated for that movie or whatever. Whatever Jada was saying, Oscars so white and boycott the Oscars, I think that, what was that, 2018? Whatever year it was. I honestly believe that when he got to the actual Oscars, he's like, look here. I have turned the other cheek a long time. I've let y'all talk crazy about my wife. And I guarantee you, he has heard all the jokes that Chris Rock, Cedric the Entertainer, all of the comedians, even Plies, made about him and Jada's marriage relationships. But guess what? When you open your marriage up to the people in the streets, namely me, I'm going to talk about you. Listen, you should not put your business out there. I'm hastened to believe that on the Red Table Talk that Will looking like, okay, baby, I'll do whatever. I don't know. Maybe Jada has some platinum punani. Maybe she does. But apparently she drug Will's old bum butt to the Red Table Talk so she could humiliate him in person on a national stage. I didn't even watch Red Table Talk. My sister told me. She said, girl, did you see Will and Jada this morning on Red Table Talk? You got to watch it. Everybody's talking about it. I said, okay, let me watch it. I said, now what in the heck would an A-list actor need to do to be on Red Table Talk to have his wife basically taking all of his cojones and throwing them out the window and stomping on his penis, which is penis. If you have children in the room, you get to get them out. Then I don't know why a man would let his wife take away his masculinity like that. Unless Will Smith is just not as masculine as we thought. I think the level of, they're calling it toxic masculinity. Shut up with all you're trying to get psychological names to phrases that people do. He just hit him in the mouth. That's not toxic masculinity. That's basically like, I just came in and I just felt like hitting him. And I knew very well when they said, I said, well, now do they let people just get knocked out on the stage and not do anything? Where was the security? Well, I guess the security is only for the fans getting too close to the actual actors. The security was apparently not good enough in security. They need to be fired. They should have basically, when they saw Will Smith approaching the stage, somebody from the security detail should have been at the edge of the stage. You know how they are at concerts? They have all kinds of security lining the front of the stage. Make sure you don't get your butt up on the stage and start trying to dance with the singer. And so they should have stopped him from going up on the stage. When he got up on the stage, that lets you know, security, you're fired. The producer of the Oscars was a black man. First time in the history of the Oscars it was ever produced by a black person. And guess what? The security was lacking. Well, here's part two. As soon as Will Smith smacked him, as he was trying to take his walk back to his seat, those five long steps back to his seat, security then had another chance to escort him out of the building. They did not need to wait on somebody from the CEO of the Academy or the president of the Board of Governors to make a statement to say, come on, we need to escort him out. They should have immediately jumped to action and not letting him take his seat back and say, you go wait in the back of the stage for the rest of the show until we finish with your category. He could have been watching from the back of the stage whether or not he won the award. And then he could have walked off from the side of the stage just to make sure that Chris was protected. They don't know if Will smoked a little bit of crack before he got on stage. He decided to just go ahead and whoop Chris real quick. They don't know if he's been microdosing with all those women that are now doing it on the Housewives of Beverly Hills in Orange County, like doing a whole bunch of psychedelics and stuff. Maybe he felt like he was in a psychedelic haze and didn't really think that what happened actually happened. The problem is this. If you do not exercise your security detail to go ahead and escort him off stage, then shut up about it. Okay? You failed at what you were supposed to do, Academy. And then you let him go on stage and speak for 6 minutes, rambling on, and he never said an apology to Chris Rock. And then you let him get all this, and they were standing up. Listen, let me tell you something about white Hollywood and black Hollywood too, apparently. Now, Denzel went over to talk to Will Smith right after it happened, when he went back to his seat, right after it happened, and crouched down to talk to him and Jada, and then still kept talking to Jada after they had come back from commercial. He continued to sit by her, kneeling down. Now, good for you, Denzel, because apparently Denzel has been a mentor to Will Smith. And Denzel even, as said by Will Smith, told Will that this is your year for the Oscar. Now, I thought that Macbeth should have won. If y'all saw Macbeth, that was the best bit of acting I've ever seen from any actor at all, black or white or whatever nationality. Go watch Macbeth. It's on Apple TV. That's the best acting ever. Anyway, so when you have Denzel comforting Will and Jada, and you have the other actor, Bradley Cooper, giving a hug and a pat on the back to Will, making sure he was okay. Like, apparently, they needed to. I think that instead of it saying, what you did was effed up, they were more in line with, are you having a psychotic break that we need to know about? Are you going to run up on stage later on and take off all your clothes and start acting crazy? Did you do some psychedelics on the outtake that we didn't know about? Is there something that we need to know that's going on? Are you okay, brother? Because it seems like you lost your stuff. It's on international television. Are you okay? I think that's what it was about. Because just seeing Denzel crouch down and put his hand on Jada, be like, everything's going to be okay. Like, dude, I know you're just doing that just to be nice, Denzel. You know that when you and your wife got home, Denzel, after these Oscars, y'all said it's all Jada's fault. And y'all should have been like, Jada should have sat back in the background and not trying to shine in the foreground because she's mad that she's a D-list actress. The only thing she ever did that was good was set it off, baby. And Queen Latifah carried the movie. That's what time it was. And Queen Latifah went on to become a super duper Hollywood A-list actress, even though she's a lesbian and she didn't even miss a beat. Do you hear me? So unfortunately, Jada Pinkett Smith, even though you were allegedly to be the cutest on there, we had Vivica Fox that went on to be a big old actress in movies and stuff. But unfortunately, Jada Pinkett Smith was never able to become a big old movie star. And I think she got jealous of Will. And I think that she got a little revenge on Will Smith because he was like capitalizing on their open relationship and dating all these white girls that were really cute. And I think that him hooking up with Margot Robbie, or Robbie, however you pronounce her last name, made Jada feel some kind of way. So that's why she dipped and dived into her son's friend. And I don't understand how that works because, unfortunately, out there, ladies, if you're listening, wives, if you're listening, if your man says that he wants to agree to have an open relationship, he just wants to screw somebody else. It has nothing to do with polyamory. You can love more than one person at one time. Because let me tell you something. If you are on a raft and there are 2 life jackets and you got the man on there with his wife and then you got the sister wife on that life raft, and the sharks are circling, and you know full well, as the man, that you only have enough room on this raft for 2. Who are you going to push off the raft? You're not going to push off your wife, who you have children with. You're probably going to push off the sister wife. You know that chick that you were just dipping and diving in when you were saying, I'm polyamorous. Well, if it's only 2 life jackets on the boat, you're going to push off the extra girl. So polyamory, I believe, is just some whack way of saying we just want to have sex with other people. And instead of getting some big old long out divorce, we're just going to have other people in our marriage. But what they should have said, we will keep it all in strictest confidence. We will not date other celebrities. And that's where they went wrong. They dated other celebrities on a public forum. So when you have this musician that was with Jada, and that's her son's friend, he was a celebrity. So when he had his psychotic break and decided to go ahead and tell all, it basically left Will and Jada in a space where they have to have their own narrative. So that's why Jada allegedly did her Red Table Talk, so that she could write her own narrative. Unfortunately, she had to drag Will's old tall butt onto the red table and have him humiliated. And then just be like, well, we were in an entanglement. Yeah, you was getting entangled under the covers, you thought. Anyway, wives out there, if your husband says he wants an open relationship, don't buy that bullcrap. You stay your butt in a closed relationship. That way, anytime you get into a fight, you be like, well, I didn't F nobody else. You did. You the one that wanted an open relationship, and now you didn't come back home with a syphilis. Well, what do you get for open relationship? Because somebody gonna end up getting burned. I'm talking about down there in their privates. I'm not talking about just out there in the streets. But, you know, Will Smith, Jada Pinkett, they have an open marriage, and now we're all in it. Okay, cut to commercial. Yeah, I mean, some people like to be swinging singles. I'm not a swinger. First of all, I'm not that good at sex. That's number 1. I'm pretty great, but I just don't want to work that hard. And I feel like if you have to get with other people, then you got to be performing and do all that extra stuff. Your body's got to be right. I mean, my body is right. Hands down, my body's right. My body is right, but the other person would be disappointed. Like, Nines doesn't work hard? No, I'm only going to work hard for my husband. But I feel like you should, if you're going to be married, be married. If you don't, find out the name of the mom and dad. It was not Kirk Douglas. One of the Hollywood A-list couples, they never got married, but they have like 4 children together, and they just Goldie Hawn. What's her husband? Kurt something. Goldie Hawn and Kurt something. They have a fantastic marriage from what I can see, and they
Bill
didn't.
Hudson.
What is his name?
Bill Hudson.
No. Bill Hudson. No.
Oh no, Kurt Russell. My bad.
Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn were together for a million years, and they have an A-list daughter actress. And, you know, they basically were just boyfriend and girlfriend. They're like, why do we need to get married? And I think they eventually got married. Did they eventually get married? So they're just still boyfriend and girlfriend. Maybe they just want to go have sex with other people sometime. But when you don't have a marriage contract, which is a covenant before God, then you can do that. But when you have like a covenant before God and a marriage contract, and you start writing your own marriage rules, that's when your stuff goes south. And let me just say another thing. I'm going to talk about Scientology when we go back on the air. But you have to think about it. When you start writing your own rules and you don't have a specific script to go off of for marriage, like if you're a gay person out there, you better be using the Bible as your script. If you got married to another, if you're a man that married a man, if you're a woman that married a woman, use the Bible as your guide for how you should be in a marriage. It works for whether you're same-sex marriage or hetero, whatever you call it, regular marriage. So you better use the same rules of no cheating. Don't cheat on each other. Don't beat each other up. One person has to be in charge of the purse strings. You have to have one person that submits to the other. If you're 2 men in a relationship, you better figure out which man is going to submit. Marriage only works if one person decides to submit. Now, maybe in the marriage of the Smiths, maybe Will decided to submit to Jada. That's kind of like what it's looking like, because apparently she's in charge of everything, and she ain't brought no dollars to the table. Because y'all remember, she's going through some type of, is she 50 years old now?
Jada?
Jada's 50, isn't she?
She should be.
Okay, so Jada's like 50 years old now. And if Will is like 52 or 53 or something like that, you have to think that one of them has to submit to the other one.
I'm playing another song.
Yeah. In every relationship, even before you get married, you determine who in the marriage is going to be, or in the relationship is going to have the power. Now, nobody likes to say, oh, I'm going to give this person power over me. It's not power over you. It's the final say in, in like how things are going to roll. I mean, only one person can drive a car at one time, but the women in the side passenger seat love to tell you which directions to take. I'm guilty of that sometimes. Unless there is Siri telling us where to go, then, and you going the wrong way, more than likely your wife is going to chime in, baby, you need to make a left. Baby, you need to make a left. And the baby's not going to make a left. He's not going to make a left. He said, well, I'm going straight. And then he's going to go the wrong way straight. And she'll be like, I told you so. He said, okay, that's fine. But guess what? He still went the way that he wanted to go because the wife is not driving the car. Well, Will needs to let Jada get out of the driver's seat with her dumb butt. She's been doing dumb stuff all along. She made this comment that we didn't raise our children to have rules. Like we decided that we didn't want them to give them the rules of how married couples should be or how marriage should be in a relationship or whatever. So basically, you didn't tell them any of the principles that are written down. I'm sure the Quran says something about marriage and how it's supposed to be. I'm sure that the Torah says something about marriage because the Bible says definitely something about marriage and how it's supposed to be. Pick one of those books and then figure out how you're supposed to act in a relationship, in a marital relationship, or some people who are about to be married, gay, straight, or whatever. It doesn't matter. There are certain rules of engagement that govern married people. So you have to go by the rules of engagement. And Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith decided that they didn't want those kind of rules. You see her mama is up there on that dumb table talk. She pulled her mama into this madness. If her mama was not, listen, I don't even know if her mom had enough sense, because I believe Jada is not calling herself polyamorous, and neither is Will. I believe that their daughter has seen so much buffoonery from the parents that she realizes marriages just don't work. Well, of course it doesn't work in y'all's households because your mom and daddy are dumb. Mm-hmm.
Are you going to shift to Here Come the Feds?
Yep. So like literally, we have to make sure that if you're in a marriage relationship and you have children especially, that you try to give your children a good picture of what marriage could be, can be, and is in your home. I don't know what's going on in your home, but you have to be in a space where the at the forefront of your mind is setting a good example for your children when it comes to your marital relationship. You shouldn't be boxing each other. You shouldn't be cursing each other out on the regular. You shouldn't have one person that does all the work and bringing in all the money, and the other person just sits on their behind like they don't have to do anything.
30 seconds.
Now, for you women out there that are going to be mad at me, yeah, you need to get your butt up and go get a job. I don't care if it's working at the donut shop. You better do something because all your kids are watching you. Did you give me? Oh, wait. I'm not on my notes yet. I'm not on my notes. 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 I got 20 seconds? Mm-hmm. Give me all 20 seconds.
Okay, you ready?
Nope. So we did that. 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 Deputies respond with Zoe Kravitz, most Americans playing Bruce Willis. Oh, we got to go to Erica Jane first before Here Come the Feds.
You ready?
Yeah.
You are on.
Everybody, we're going to go ahead and switch gears just for a little bit. And I don't know if you read the details. You probably got so hooked up on what was going on with Will and Jada. On the outtake, I was telling my listeners who live stream me that the reality is that in any marital relationship, I don't believe that Will and Jada are polyamorous. I just believe that they have an open marriage, which means that they're not literally trying to like bring in actual sister wives or I guess brother husbands. They just want to be able to have sex with other people whenever they want to, because apparently the D is not good enough. I don't know if your bedroom is popping, you really don't need anybody else. But maybe Will Smith's bedroom was just not popping, or maybe Jada was getting kind of lazy in the sexual in her sexual escapades with her husband. Then he's like, baby, I need somebody else because you're not popping anymore like you used to. You got a little cray-cray. Because, we all saw Jada go ahead and do her buzz cut when she was trying to be a rock and roll metallic singer, when she was touring around with all these bands and being the opening act. And then she just tried to have her own acting career. It just didn't work. Jada's a D-list actress. Like even her husband couldn't get her on any A-list movies. But anyway, I'm going to get off of them for a little bit. If you have children out there, you need to make sure that if you're in a marital relationship, you set an example for your children. Because apparently on the Red Table Talk, that's when Jada's daughter came on there on a separate episode, when Jada's daughter and Jada's mom were at the red table saying, how do you feel about marriage and what's your outlook on it? And their daughter said very plainly, well, I don't want to be married. I'm in a polyamorous relationship right now. I love it. We're all together. We all love each other, and we're just all together because from what I've seen in my own home, marriage just doesn't work. And basically that was a slap in the face, literally and figuratively, to Jada Pinkett Smith for her bad whack parenting. So basically, you sit up there and let me tell you something about Hollywood people. They're so wealthy. They're so wealthy that only in Hollywood, when they get so much wealth, do they not feel like they need regular God? They switch over to Scientology. Now, Scientology is based in Martians. Okay, and John Travolta was right up there on the stage when he shook Will's hand and gave him that award. And that was a nod for the Scientologist. And I bet you anywhere in the world that all the Scientologists are going to have Will's back. Because guess what? His wife Jada is the one who convinced him to do all that dumb Scientology stuff. I reported in August, when I was telling you about the private school that Jada Pinkett Smith came up with right after that Red Table Talk crap, that the private school that they had all the Scientology books in the library for the kids. It had all that they were teaching the Scientology way. So at the end of the day, they gave up God, okay, and went to the Martians in their marriage. Number 2, they had an open marriage instead of just being one person for one person, loyal to the other and letting no man forsake their marriage. Number 3, they allowed Jada to talk about their marriage in public, knowing full well that their children were going to hear and have their own hang-ups about what people were going to be saying about them. Number 4, they did not allow the first person who heckled them, Laverne Cox, to be checked on the red carpet at the time when it would have made a difference to how Will was treated at the Oscars when it came to the jokes. So now that, ladies and gentlemen, are 4 things that were bad parenting things for Will and Jada. And I just have to say, Will and Jada, I feel like, Will, you need to divorce that woman. She means nothing but ill will towards you. She is selfish. Let me tell you, if I was married to Will Smith and I was sad about my career being a D-list actress, I'd be like, okay, baby, let me just go buy a Bentley. Let me just get a Bentley, and if a Bentley's not enough, let me go get a Lamborghini and a Bentley and a whole bunch of other cars. And then let me just let me go get a Formula One team together that I can be in charge of. And she needs to get herself totally out of the acting game. There can only be one star in a marriage, okay? Unless you're Penelope Cruz and Javier Bardem, who both were nominated for Oscars for Best Actor and Best Actress on the same night, because they're both able to hold their own on their own. So what I'm telling you is this: if you are a selfish woman, then you're not able to submit as a dutiful wife should when you're supposed to submit to your husbands. I'm not saying acting like some road bump that gets run over all the time, but for the men out there, you know what I'm talking about. If you're a Christian woman, and the Bible says that you should, wives, submit to your husbands. Okay, the Bible also says that woman was made for man. So in this particular instance, if we just had Will and Jada following just that one principle, wives, submit to your husband, there never would have been an Augustine Alessandro or whatever his name at coming banging Will Smith's wife. There never would have been that infidelity on Jada's side. There never would have been a position where your daughter, that Will and Jada's daughter, think that she needs to be in a polyamorous relationship because marriages don't work. There never would have been any of that if they had just taking up that one thing. The Bible says, wives, submit to your husband. So now if Jada had submitted, she'd be like, okay, well, I'm going to go ahead. And since you got all these billions, why don't you go ahead and buy me a Formula One racetrack team so I can just go ahead and race them around the country and be number one at that. Find something else to be number one at. You don't see you don't see Denzel's wife talking about, I want to be an actress. You don't see it. You didn't, listen. Before Chris Rock divorced Malak Compton Rock, before their divorce, you didn't see her trying to be a movie star. You don't see, what's her name? You don't see any of these actors' wives. Let's just take the actor who cheated on his wife with Eddie Murphy's ex-wife, and who has Rochelle. I forgot her name. She was the actress that had the bad toes in Boomerang. Well, her husband was seen traipsing around, I think, in the Amalfi Coast with Eddie Murphy's ex-wife. You know, the pretty one that looks like a Martian. She's fair skin with short hair. You know, but she didn't say after she was on her way to being an A-list actress, but she never really did it. But when she married her superstar husband, who's a superstar producer and director, well, she decided that, well, I'm not going to do acting. And she just started eating. She said, forget acting. My husband makes a lot of millions. I'm going to go ahead and let him shine the relationship. I'm just going to go ahead and go to the refrigerator. And she went to the refrigerator, and then he started cheating. Anyway, but wives, you're supposed to submit to your husband and then keep your body right. If you're married to an A-list actor, all you have to do is two things. Shut your mouth and look good. Shut your mouth and look good. I know that doesn't sound right for all my women's liberation people. I'm just trying to tell you how to stay married. You shut your mouth and look good. You married to a professional athlete, shut your mouth and look good. Stay off the gram. Stay off anything social media. You should really not even you should be like the royals. When Meghan Markle married Prince Harry, they had to delete her social media accounts. No more Facebook, no more Instagram, no more Twitter, no more your own identity. That was for marrying a royal. I think that if you're an A-list Hollywood actress, you need to have an account that's managed by the publicist, because you may say some dumb stuff that's come back to bite you. So you shouldn't. And Will Smith, if you have been running your household like a real man, we wouldn't even be talking about this morning. We couldn't even talk about the fact that Samuel L. Jackson got the first Academy Award that he has ever received from he got an honorary award for all the work that he has put in Hollywood. Do you know that Samuel L. Jackson is one of the highest paid actors in Hollywood? He has amassed one of the largest fortunes in Hollywood because he does not say no to any single project that ever comes his way. That's why he did Snakes on a Plane. So Samuel L. Jackson didn't even get all the shine that he deserved. You know, Will Smith, we could have been shining on what great work you did in King Richard. I didn't see the movie because I was so hell-bent on Denzel Washington winning for Macbeth that I didn't watch it. And even after you did the SmackDown at the Oscars, I still didn't watch King Richard. I just wasn't interested. I didn't really want to see cornrows anymore. I was so disgruntled about, let me tell you something, just being realistic, I was so disgruntled about the hair for Venus and Serena while they were growing up. I just could not for the life of me understand why their hair had the worst ever cornrows with beads you will ever see in your lifetime. There should have been some extension hair braided up in those cornrows for the Williams sisters. Do you hear me? There was no reason for them to be running around looking there like that. Now, more than likely, if Richard was alive, he would come up and smack me in my face because I'm talking about his daughter's hair. But we all know that they do better braids than that in California and Compton. I don't know where they're from. But their hair was terrible all the time growing up. And that's probably why the white people were so racist against them, because they ended up looking like slaves every time they was playing on the court. And it was reminding the white people that the plantation was real. Anyway, Will, you wouldn't have had all these problems if, in fact, your wife was submissive to you, but you didn't know how to put your foot down from the beginning. Because remember, his first wife divorced him. So maybe Will is just corny. Maybe we just know what he's like in Hollywood looks. We just know him on the red carpet. Maybe he doesn't have a large penis. You know, maybe he's just kind of weak and corny. Maybe he is bisexual. Maybe he is more gay than straight. Maybe Jada walked in on him with somebody else. Maybe Jada knows all of his demons. Because let me tell you something. They said something very, very strange, that their job is to love each other and to let each other grow in whatever experiences they want to have in the world. So if Will is on a movie set and shooting far away, then if he wants to have a harem of women to like have a big old orgy, Jada's okay with that. And basically vice versa. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. In this case, I guess Jada was the gander. So at the end of the day, they decided to run their own marriage in their own way, and it has epically failed on a public stage. Now, if you're thinking about, let me see. Oh, in other news, let me just tell you something about Wendy Williams. Her bum of an ex-husband came out and made a statement that he does recognize that someone was hurt by what he did. For those of you who don't remember, Kevin is Wendy Williams. Is Kevin's last name Williams? I don't even really know his last name. Kevin, who should be forgotten. Kevin cheated on Wendy with a thought and was paying for him and the thought to live in a house that Wendy was paying for, which was in their same New Jersey neighborhood. Okay. What's it called?
Kevin Hunter. So
Kevin Hunter. So big Kevin Hunter made a statement about everything that's been going on in the press about Wendy's money. But remember, he also filed a lawsuit against the producers of the Wendy Williams show, saying that he didn't get his payment and that he was fired with unjust reason because he was Wendy's husband. No, you got fired on the show. You're usually making the woman go crazy. That's what happened. So he's making statements only because I believe really he has no source of income. Him and his baby mama now have no person to feed their financial coffers. When you in fact drive the woman crazy, that's your wife. It lets you know that Kevin Hart doesn't know how to play the game. He should have just done a Stedman and been like, okay, Wendy is Oprah and I'm Stedman. I'm going to be her man and shut the F up. I'm going to lay in the background and not do anything crazy. But no, Kevin Hunter was a big old gangster. He never did really want Wendy. He just wanted the celebrity status. And that's why he went out there and got a thought who was so proud of being pregnant. And she was living in the house. I don't know what kind of woman. Let's talk about this I'm going to put a pin in this point for just a second. I'm going to lay here for just a link. I'm going to link for just a second. What kind of a woman is okay being the mistress for several years? So much a mistress that you're okay knowing full well that that your man's only source of income, the husband's, his only source of income is his wife. So that means the mistress should have never gotten pregnant. Then she would have kept the cash cow flowing, her dumb butt, because Kevin is suing the producers just because they're out of money. When Wendy could not she can't use her debit card at Starbucks, baby. Let me just tell you. Wendy's money is frozen up by the white privileged bank, Wells Fargo, so she cannot get at her money. So all of her accounts are frozen. And if her accounts are frozen, then that means Kevin is not able to steal any money or figure out a way to get any more money from Wendy. So he had to sue the producers. So, let me just say this. The girl, what's the mistress's name? The forever mistress? The Jezebel. I'm just gonna if Jezebel was wise, if Sharina Jezebel Hudson was wise, she said, baby, don't mess up a good thing. Stay with your wife. We need to make sure we use condoms or something. Just stay with your wife because we don't want anything to happen to her, because if something happens to her, how are we going to survive? Are you going to go get a job? You don't really have any transferable skills. Nobody else is going to hire you to produce their shows or be an assistant producer. And I'm sorry, I don't have any transferable skills. All I know how to do is get on my knees and give a job that blows. So you need to make sure Wendy keeps her sanity and her job. That's what she should have said. But most mistresses are so dumb. They're actually thinking, well, we're going to ride off into the sunset and he going to leave her for me. And that means I win. No, you didn't win. You only win. He who has the most cars at death wins. That's what I think that's what John D. Rockefeller said. Whoever has the most toys at death wins. Well, the mistress and the mistress's baby daddy should have been thinking along those lines. Well, Wendy Williams is now saying, hey, I don't like the fact that Sherri Shepherd is now going to have my show. I'm going back into the game, baby. And let me just tell you something. Wendy, if you're listening, I got your back. Wendy Williams, I need you back on the airwaves to talk that talk. There's been so much juicy stuff that's gone out there that we need your take on it, because we know you ain't never scared to say the real tea. So Wendy Williams, maybe all the tea that you were spilling came back on you, but that's fine. You've already done your penance. You've already lost your husband. You still have your coins. And guess what? You are still bankable television, because you give us all kind of cuckoo crazy on TV. Remember that time when she fainted? And she's just like, oh, I feel a little bit woozy. On the Halloween episode like 3 years ago, she just hit the ground and passed out. Well, we like that kind of TV on live TV. We like seeing Will Smith go up and slap somebody on live TV, because it's not us. We love to sit and watch crazy play out amongst people who have probably $50 to $100 million in their bank accounts. I like it when people come unglued. Did you see what happened whenever the congressman came unglued from the Republican Party, the one that's in the wheelchair, and was talking about all the orgies and all the cocaine use? I love it when the people in power come unglued, because us regular people out here, the taxpayers out here, the people who are not walking red carpets, the people that don't live on 150 acres with $25,000 square foot mansions, the people out here, we just want to see you guys lose all of your crap on television. I loved it when Britney Spears lost her crap, shaved off her head, and started beating the car with the umbrella. I loved all of the crazy. Remember back then when Robert Downey Jr. was high on heroin all the time and went into somebody else's house and laid in the child's beds and was fighting the people saying, "This is my house"? Do y'all remember that? Do you all also remember the time when, what's the name of the comedian that was as the bald head guy who we all loved, who played Smokey? No, I think Chris Rock played the crackhead, but this guy played too. Well, anyway, bald head, we all know him. He took a sabbatical after, what is his name, Sherelle? Look it up. He took a sabbatical and went to Africa because he's making all these jokes that the white people were laughing too hard at. They offered him a $100 million contract to keep on doing his show. But he didn't do his show, but he basically came unglued too. We saw him lose his crap. You know, we saw Monique, the comedian, lose her crap over not being able to have her Oscar hotel, airfare, transportation paid for by the producers of the movie that she was in about, what was that movie about? You know, that's a movie I didn't see. It was Precious. So all these actors and actresses, when they come undone, I just want to be sitting with my popcorn watching at the sidelines. I want to see the mental breakdown. I want to see all the buffoonery and chicoonery and all the craziness, because that is what keeps us entertained. That's what lets us know that God is still in control. Because God wants us to see, guess what? They don't have it all great too. Their stuff is a mess too. And at the end of the day, Will and Jada are not the model marriage to go by. If you guys are out there thinking that we need to be like Will and Jada and let our kids just decide what they want to do in their own life, you're dumb. You want your daughter to be polyamorous, you're just raising a big old hoe. That's what it means. One man, one woman, one man, one man, one woman, one woman. Whatever it is, it needs to be mono y mono. It cannot be a situation where you got a whole bunch of other people in your relationships. And I guess, you know, we're going to just go ahead and say to them, we hope. Well, I hope that they're able to get, you know, a psychiatrist to come do some home visits to their house to figure out how they can keep the sanity that's in their household. Because right now, everybody's going insane. Everybody's crazy in the Will Smith family. The kids are crazy. The only person not crazy is the ex-wife. But let me move on to other crazy in the news. Ladies and gentlemen, Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, Erica Jane and Tom Girardi's $8 million mansion goes into foreclosure. Yes, you know the big old mansion that they had that had its own private chapel built into it. It was listed for $13 million last May. The Pasadena, California mansion now sits on the market for just $7.98 million because Girardi, a former disgraced attorney, has little to no assets left. His home was seized by the bank at the end of 2020, and the LA County Sheriff's placed an involuntary lien on his property after Girardi failed to pay the property taxes. But he claimed to the court that he needed to keep his house so he could live in it while the cases were pending. Well, unfortunately, he's not been living there. He's been living in an assisted living facility because he has dementia and he also has Alzheimer's. And here's the thing. Over the course of 11 months, the home has seen 5 different price cuts. And it was purchased back in 1980 for $1.3 million. So the reality is this. Honestly, if Mr. Girardi was having all these financial problems keeping up with his third wife, Erica Girardi's desire to be famous, that's another one. Let me just tell you this. If you have an A-list lawyer who is in good with the governor of California, who's in good with the district attorney, so much so that when they see him doing all this wrong and all this shady practices, they never bring any charges against him. The state bar of California didn't even want to say anything against him because he's Mr. LA Law. He's Mr. Eric Brockovich. Well, the reality is, unfortunately, when you're trying to keep your thought wife on stage, letting her live her dream as a blonde bombshell, spending hundreds of millions of dollars for her to live her dream at the expense of what is good, just, and right by the people that were the Lion Air victims that were left behind from the people who died in that plane crash, then he could have really just, if he needed the loot, it would have been no problem for him to sell his mansion that was $1.3 million that he bought in 1980. He could have sold that house in 2018 or 17 or 16 and got the money off of it and had like $6 million in the bank. And at the time he would have tried to sell it, it probably would have been able to go for 15 or 20 million because the housing market was booming. He could have just sold his mansion and said, baby, we're going to sell the crib. We're going to sell the crib so I can help you live your dream. But he didn't do that. Because he felt like he needed to have the big, gigantic mansion that was just worth $20 million at that time. And then go ahead and pretend to his wife that he was rolling in the dough. And keep it continuing to pretend to his law partners that he was rolling. But the problem is this. If you're an attorney that does personal injury and you've got you've got a couple of airplanes and stuff, I don't know any lawyers making a lot of money off PI cases unless they're, they got the oil spill money. Like those lawyers, the Transocean, the Gulf oil spill, like Exxon, all those, Exxon Valdez, all those oil spill lawyers that got all the money, they have the loot to buy all that stuff. I didn't really know what Tom Girardi was getting all this money for because if he takes the cut, he's not a solo practitioner. He doesn't get the whole cut of the 45% or whatever percentage he was taking. He has to share that with his law firm partners and the people at the law firm. So if his cut was $10 million out of that, if let's just pretend it was $10 million, well, all the $10 million went to the law firm. And then everybody who got paid their salaries underneath that. So he probably got like a $1 million bonus at the end of the year. So he wasn't able to buy all those private jets and things like that. And when he started buying those jets, why wasn't the IRS looking into his financials? Hello? Was the IRS in his pocket as well? I hope not. So let's just think about it. At the end of the day, they had a church chapel in their home while they were living in sin. Come on, y'all. I know y'all are out there listening to me. At the end of the day, God will always expose the things that you do in the dark. And what you're noticing right now, let's just take, for instance, if you're looking at, let's see. If you're looking at things that happen in the dark that come to light, well, one thing that's happening in the dark that came to the light was Vladimir Putin, y'all. Let me tell you something. Russia never had slaves, I believe. They never trafficked in black people to work their land and make them rich. No, they didn't. The Soviet Union didn't have black slaves from Africa. The West is the one that had slavery. The United States of America had slaves. Well, guess what? Putin's like, I don't have a problem with black people. Because guess what? Russia is sending Wagner Group mercenaries to eastern Ukraine. You don't know who the Wagner Group is? Well, the Wagner Group is a group of military, paramilitary professionals that go out and kill for sport. He has hired them. They have a fearsome reputation, and it is justified that they have been asking for Russian air support they asked for Russian air support during the fighting in Libya, where they were in a number of attacks. And one official said of this group that there was a slight degree of desperation about the Kremlin relying on mercenaries. Well, let me just tell you what happened. Putin called up his African homeboy and said, yeah, I can't stand the West either. I can't stand all those white people over there thinking that they're running everything. I can't stand it. So what they do, they went up and got up all of the mercenaries, baby, to go ahead and kill for sport. And if you want to look them up and figure out anything about them, it says, it looks like NATO puts the death toll for the Ukrainians. 1,200 Russians have died in the conflict. NATO says it's between 7,000 and 15,000. Now, let me tell you something, NATO. Just shut up. If it's between 7,000 and 15,000, just say, I don't know how many. Because there's too big of a difference between 7 and 15,000, those clowns. That's why they can't get anything done. They can't even get the right death toll. Anyway, so apparently they're dogging out Russian's president, Vladimir Putin, for asking the Wagner Group to help him out. It says the Ukraine is showing desperation. No, the Russians are basically showing they'll do anything it takes to win. I don't know if they're winning or losing. I don't even really know if we know exactly what's happening going on over there. As far as I'm concerned, it's a lot that's going on that we don't know about. And it's a whole lot of the West trying to stick their nose in. And if they can find billions of dollars to give over to the Ukrainian citizens to help them out, they can find billions of dollars to eliminate the college debt that they are continuing to make college graduate taxpayer citizens pay for. Because I don't think that anybody if the United States government is not going to wipe out the college student loan debt from everybody who graduated college from 1995 to the present, then I think that for the next 10 years, none of the new graduates should have to pay taxes. Okay? Because remember, our tax dollars that we pay are going to fund what's going on in Ukraine. Don't get it twisted. The federal government is using the taxpayer dollars from American citizens to go fund foreign war, which we said we were not going to do. We don't send our soldiers to foreign war to die on foreign soils in a war that we're not involved in, and we're not supposed to be sending our taxpayer dollars over there. So Biden, I have a problem with you, and on that note, I'm going to go cut to commercial for our dog got Biden too much. 953 jams. Are y'all liking it? I know you're liking it. This is, I mean, look, there's so much stuff to talk about, but this guy says at the, I couldn't find the quote when I was on there, but I remember what he said. That mercenary, the brother that's in charge of all these people that kill for sport, he said, we are in the business of death and business is good. How's that for some hitters? You got anybody that you don't like in the United States? You don't call in the people from Mexico to do a beheading. Call in the mercenaries from Africa, baby, because they know how to kill, honey. So at the end of the day, I'm kind of glad that all the news turned to Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith and the Oscars, because I was tired of talking about Ukraine 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We're always talking about Eastern Europe. We're not Eastern Europeans. Okay? We are American citizens. We have our own news to talk about. And but listen, Russia drafted 144,500 conscripts, but says they won't go to Ukraine. I don't know. It looks like a draft to me. And I feel like Ukraine drafted its own people, because Ukraine, basically, when they said all the women and children get to leave the country, but the men have to stay back behind and fight, that's a draft. It may not have been the paper draft that was sent out in the mail for the draft in 1940, in Vietnam, when they were trying to go ahead and take over the independent Vietnamese country. The United States is trying to blow them out of the water. Kind of like Ukraine is being blown out of the water by Russia, is the same thing that the United States did to Vietnam. Anyway, moving on from that. Let's see. If you type, let's see. Yeah, I did not like the way that, the Summer of Soul. Did y'all see the movie The Summer of Soul? It was the producer. They had the three producers. One was a South Asian gentleman, and they had two white guys, and then you have Questlove. The South Asian said that basically called Chris Rock an absolute effing DICK, because he was mad that Chris Rock said, oh, 4 white guys made Summer of Soul, when actually it was 2 white guys and 1 South Asian. And I think that in a time where people are dismissing your ethnic identity, I think Chris Rock owes him an apology. But he basically responded on his Twitter saying, Chris Rock, you're an absolute effing DICK. But anyway, didn't want to say that on the air, because that really wasn't airworthy. But Summer of Soul was a great movie. It documented all of the concert that went on in the summer of 1963, I believe, where all of the black artists were like, we're tired of dying. We're tired of all this unequalness. It was one of the hardest years in United States social justice history, where you had the assassination of Martin Luther King. You had the assassination of Robert Kennedy. You had I think it was the same assassination of Malcolm X. And you had Medgar Evers gunned down. You had all of the black leaders gunned down. And, the one white champion that was championing for black people's right to vote and equality, which is Robert Kennedy, who was running for president at the time. And by the way, I'll save that for the end. Anyway, so this is a picture of the gentleman who is clearly South Asian. Clearly. He's a South Asian man. He's clearly not white, and he's sitting there with the 2 white guys with the Oscars, but I don't know if you can see that, but he's sitting there with the 2 white guys, and then you have Questlove in the middle. So I'd be kind of miffed too if they said, if I'm black and somebody said, the 3 white girls, I'd be like, hold up, I'm black. You can't see it? Look at these edges. Anyway, let me see. Here come the feds. What do we have? I hope y'all are enjoying the show today. If you guys want to come on, I think that I'm going to allow you to come. Which phone is my Instagram phone? Oh, no. If you want to come on to the show in this next quarter of the hour, then feel free to go ahead on Facebook or Instagram, and ask to join the show so we can have a little bit of an open chat.
15 seconds.
15 seconds. Because I'm going to start talking about, some of the dumb things that are going on. I want to hear your take on it. I want you guys to come on. Hi, Melissa Reed. I see you on there, girl.
5,
I want to hear what you guys think about Will Smith
2,
and what you think should happen.
1.
Okay, everybody, we're back. And if you are listening to me on my live stream at Nyanza Elmore on Facebook and Nyanza Elmore on Instagram, I'm inviting you to go ahead and share your screen with me right now so I can have you join the show. But in the meantime, I want to go back and ask the viewers out there, what do you think the penalty should be for Will Smith? Should he be suspended from the Academy, from the, what do they call it? The governors, what do they call it? The Academy of Motion Pictures. Should he be expelled? Have they ever had anything like this happen in the past? I mean, I just need to know, because at the end of the day, you have a lot of people on the board of governors. What I noticed was that, Wanda Sykes said that she's still shocked. Lenny Kravitz's daughter, Zoe, she had something negative. Like, I cannot believe the girl. Shut up, Zoe. Anyway, you know what? I don't think that any of the other actors or actresses, I feel like they came too hard with what should happen to Will, and they really don't know the psychology behind what happened. And the reality is they should be going out there saying it's all Jada's fault, and we're so sorry that Will Smith had to endure this, and that we understand that it came to a head. And so when things come to a head like that, people don't know how they're going to react. But it looked like it was a bit of misplaced aggression with what happened to Chris Rock. And the aggression was basically at everybody who has ever said anything negative about Will and Jada's marriage. And anybody who has ever said anything negative about their children, or just even Will, and just anything at all. Because one of the things about it is Jada used to position herself as an activist. Remember, she was very, very woke with Oscars So White when she was mad that there were not any black nominees at one of those years. And I don't know what year it's for, but I really feel like maybe they should suspend Will, but suspend him for 6 months. But I don't know. I mean, do you have to be a member of the Academy to win an Oscar? Who gives a crap? Does that mean you just don't get to vote on all the other movies? I mean, I'm not sure if that takes away your voting power. I don't know how many black voters they have on the Oscars committee, because not a lot of black people ever usually get to win. But what I noticed this time is that the deaf people, the gay people, the black people, the Latino people, and the South Asian people, everybody that was diverse won. So white privilege, you're on your way out the door. I think you've had, 80 years of the Oscars? How many? This is the 98th Oscars or something?
94.
They've had 93 years of the Oscars before this, and they never try to have black people get any shine. So at the end of the day, I just want to say, you remember last year's blunder where they gave the award out for Best Supporting Actor to a black man, and then they acted like it wasn't the actual award that it gave out when they came out in the news the next day. I was like, dude, I thought I won Best Supporting. I thought I won the award. But they didn't actually really write about it. So I just want to know, do you think that he should be kicked out? Do you really even need to be a member of the Academy? Do you want the chance to vote on yourself? They're never going to let a bunch of black people win. But one thing is for sure, we probably needed to have Will's black vote on that all-white committee. They probably need some gay people on the committee. They probably need some people that are, they need more women. I'm just assuming if they said they needed to diversify the Academy, then they need some black people, some gay people, some women, some South Asian people, and some Chinese people. Because look, it looks like they were the ones winning all the awards in the first place. So I have to say, we're going to switch gears just a little bit. And I'm going to go on to talk just a little bit about what's going on in dumb news. All right. Now, I was just reading an article about, Governor Ron DeSantis getting backlash from Disney, that Ron DeSantis is saying that it's not okay to teach kindergarten through third graders, or what is it? Kindergarten? Yeah, K through third should not learn about sexuality as far as who you're supposed to be with in a partnership. And I agree with him. Disney tried to think that they have any stake in it. Disney is trying to basically say, okay, well, we have something to say about that. With Disney, you may have a whole lot of lobbyists, but apparently Governor Ron DeSantis out there in Florida does not care about all the lobbyists that you have in your pocket. So Disney's on the side of you should teach gay children about regular children about gayness, transgenderness. I thought when you were in third grade, you were just learning how to be nice to each other. I thought that they were doing the Nabisco challenge in athletics to see how many sit-ups and push-ups you could do. I thought that in that time you were just putting on the school plays, which is your very first musical. I thought at that time you were learning about the transformation of a caterpillar to a butterfly, or you were learning about how a cloud is made in science. I didn't think that you were actually talking about human sexuality and people who, why are they talking about this in schools in the first place? They do not need to be. But Disney decided to step in the game. Let me tell you something about all these corporations that are in there trying to step in. What's going to happen is when the conservatives take over at the midterms in November, when the Conservative Party takes over leadership and they run the House and the Senate, and then after Joseph Biden is not able to get another Democrat elected in the next presidential election, I'm not thinking if Donald Trump wins, they'll lose. But if the Republicans run somebody who's an actual viable candidate, then I believe that the Democrats probably won't win the next election, because it's going to be too many things that the Democrats did not do that they should have done in the last 4 years under Joseph Biden. They spent too much darn time on Ukraine, too much time trying to figure out, what are we going to do about transgenders in sports? You didn't fix voting rights. You didn't protect a woman's right to choose what she wants for her body. So since you have the Supreme Court that's stacked at 6-3 with liberal justices being outnumbered by double, then if Joseph Biden does not increase the number of associate justices on the Supreme Court by 4 or 3 to make sure it's even every time, then we're never going to have a liberal Democrat win the next presidential election. You don't believe me? Mark my words. The Republicans will come back to power. They've already proven that they can come back in power on the local levels in government, at the lower levels. They're already proving that they're Republican governors. And let me tell you something. I was so mad at our Governor Abbott in Texas about the Texas freeze, about our pipes and about our electric grid being run off something that was not the federally mandated one that everybody else went off of. And then I was like, oh my gosh, he needs to be removed. But now I'm like, oh no, let's don't remove him. I don't mind being in the Texas freeze for a couple more times to make sure that he protects a girl's right to compete in college sports and high school sports and junior high school sports, and without fear of a boy that's turning to go into their sport. Let me just tell you something. I had surgery yesterday on my back, a minor outpatient procedure on my back. And when I shout out to the nurses over there at United Methodist Healthcare, they were so nice and caring. They cared for me so well. I was the very first patient. It is my second time for a procedure. I have to go 10 more times. Anyway, so I was talking to them and yesterday about what's going on. They're all women, just so you know. So I'm talking to this group of women, and one of the women who was the nurse for me the last time I went to go have my procedure done, she and I got into a conversation. I was like, yeah, we were talking a little bit about politics because she's Croatian. And I said, yeah, well, if you like a little bit about politics. She said, what's going on in America today? I don't understand what's happening. She said, I'm going to listen to your show. I want to hear all about it. She said, well, tell me what you talk about. And I told her about the transgender thing, about trans women, blah, blah, blah. And then she was like, oh my God, I totally agree with you. Well, that was way back in early March. Well, then I went back to my surgery yesterday, and the women there were agreeing with me again about, we do not need men who have no ovaries to set the law out for women. Do you hear me? They all agreed. My anesthesiologist was a black woman. I had a white woman, Croatian nurse, or registered nurse, and 2 other white women who were American citizens by birth. And we all, for this diverse group of women that was having this poignant discussion yesterday in my recovery room, we were all discussing how women are women. And here's what Ketanji Jackson Brown should have said last week when she was being questioned by the conservatives about the conservative senators, when they said, how do you define a woman? Here's what I told the nurses yesterday. I said it would have been easy for me. So they don't want me on the Supreme Court, because I would have said very clearly, women are made by God. Trans women are made by science. Period. You can drop the mic. That's the difference. Women are made by God. Trans women are made by science. If you're made by science, you do not get to compete against women who are made by God in things that we're all women who are made by God. So it doesn't matter if there's a black female swimmer versus a white female swimmer. They're both swimmers because they're both women. They can compete against each other because they were born. See, men were born with larger and stronger lung capacity than women. Their muscle mass was stronger at birth on purpose for hunting and gathering. That's the way God made them. So just because science comes in and says, well, we can give you a fake vagina by, if you have children in the room, please tell your children to leave the room. They probably should be at school anyway, and there's no more homeschooling if you're in Texas. So get their butts out of the room. Now, if your child is homesick, turn down the volume, but you better keep listening. If science says we're going to give you hormones to just change your voice, to make it softer, and we're going to give you hormones so that you don't grow all the facial hair on your face and have to shave every day like a man, and we're going to give you hormones just to make sure that that it ends up, softening your testosterone levels, then that's what science can do. But those things are temporary, because once they stop taking the hormones, everything reverts back to what they were at birth. Do you hear me? Kind of like if you don't keep up with working out and you become Misfit America. Well, you're taking all these pictures on social media about how fit you are. Well, if you go to have some donuts and cheeseburgers the next week and revert back to donuts and cheeseburgers instead of working out, you're going to look like how you normally look. Well, scientists created the trans community. So I believe that when there is less than 1 million trans people in the United States, that they need to have their own thing and figure out their situation on their own. Do not come into the natural born God-made women's pool and start ruling us. God said we need to submit to our husbands, not to men who want to walk around with an inverted penis and call it a vagina. Do you hear me? Was that a little bit harsh? Remember, I told you to keep your children out of the room now. I told you to turn on your volume because I'm going to say a lot of things right now. Because guess what? An inverted vagina, which is exactly the procedure that they use when they want to go ahead and give a man a vagina, they take his penis and turn it inside out and tuck it up. Oh, you don't believe me? Go watch. Go watch it on the doc. You can watch any documentary about what the surgical procedure is, because I watched it like 4 years ago and I was stunned. I was like, are they going to make a vagina? How do you do that? Do they just have to cut it off? No, they invert the penis and use the fabric of the penis to go ahead and make a vagina. Well, what do they do for women who think that women who want to be men, trans men out there, you need to just stay in your lane. Because it doesn't matter how many hormones you're taking. You can cut off your breast. You're going to end up without any breasts, looking like an Amazonian woman, which is fine, because that was when Amazonian women were single-breasted. They cut off their left breast so it could be better for the bow and arrow. But that was for fighting the men off their islands when they didn't want any men to take over. They were right. They just cut off the one breast for a purpose. Trans men that are cutting off their breasts, well, you still have a penis. So if you're walking around here with a penis and have your breast, listen, if you have breasts, you get them cut off, you don't have a penis, well, they're changing, and turn it down again. They're trying to figure out a way to inflate the woman's clitoris to turn it into a baby penis. Now, if you're a man out there, about men, all they talk about is size matters. They're always talking about being the biggest D-I-C-K in the room. They're always talking about chew on my N-U-T-S. They're always talking about they're walking with their D-I-C-Ks up front. Well, if you're a girl that is now trying to pee standing up in a stall next to men who are natural born, God-made men, they might be some men out there with some small penises. But if you have a clitoris that you're trying to pretend is now a penis, it's not going to get erect, number one. It's not going to release sperm to make a baby, number two. So it's not even going to be large enough to actually penetrate an actual vagina. It's going to feel smaller than a tampon. So what's the point of it all? What is the point of wearing a strap-on and cutting off your breast if you're trans? I mean, I'm just trying to tell you. If Ketanji Jackson Brown, or whatever her name is, I still want her to be a Supreme Court justice. But when you are called to the carpet, don't use that time to not say what you know to be the truth for fear that you will not get selected. I like somebody who can say what they want to say and stand by it and affirm it, whatever they want to say. If you are a bigot and you're like, I hate black people because they're monkeys, I'm okay if you want to stand firm in that. But if you've been saying black people are monkeys for 50 years, then all of a sudden you're up for a job with the black people, you're like, okay, I don't know. Well, how do you define black people? Well, I define them as humans. Or no, I'll leave that to the biologist. Well, you said they were monkeys for 20 years. You don't think they're monkeys today? Well, I'd prefer that person say, well, I've always thought they were monkeys. You still want to vote on me? We'd like to know what we're going to get on the Supreme Court. That's why I said we need to increase the number. And at the end of the day, I understand she was doing what was politically correct. But time out for political correctness. You see where it got Will Smith? If he had not had a combustion if he had dealt with things like a man, when his wife was on that Red Table Talk stuff, if he had acted like he had a penis, then we wouldn't be talking about Will's lack of penis today. We would not be talking about Will having toxic masculinity. And I don't think it's toxic at all. I think that women are calling it toxic masculinity, and people in the trans community are calling it toxic masculinity. Masculinity is not by itself toxic. It's just what men do. They don't know how to take out their aggression other than fighting. Well, sometimes you say sticks and stones won't break my bones. Well, will break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Well, some words hurt. I guess if a white man probably called Will Smith the N-word in his face, he would probably smack him. Would that be okay? Now, my husband seems to think that sometimes they deserve a smacking, like if you drop the N-bomb. I was like, okay. Well, I don't even think that then it's okay to smack somebody. Because we know a lot of those white people that probably did the N-word slip out in a couple of those parties and Will Smith did not go crazy. He's like, I understand. Or let's just take, what's the A-list white actor who played Forrest Gump? His son is a rapper. His white privileged son is a nice rapper. He's rapping and he drops the N-bombs in his raps. Very disrespectful to black people because his white privilege makes him think that he should be able to say that because he knows some black people. He has some black friends. Well, black people out there, when you let the people that are white drop the N-bomb and you don't do anything to course correct it, then they just go ham and start making up their own rap songs where they're dropping the N-bomb all the time. Tom Hanks. So when you think about it, Tom Hanks had his son saying the N-word. Well, I didn't see any of the black actors coming out saying Tom Hanks should check his son. No, he just let him go on. So when you think about how you allow other people to treat you in this bullying offense, it seemed like Hollywood had been bullying Will and Jada, and the general population, myself included. I mean, I didn't bully Will and Jada. I only bullied Jada. I think that Jada is the problem of all of this. Jada is a bad wife. I don't even know if she's a good mother. She's probably a good mother as far as nannies and being rich can take you. But as far as being a good mother to raise her children, to know the difference between right and wrong, and to know actually what a marriage is supposed to look like, she failed her children. She failed her children as a mother, and she failed her husband for not being a good supportive wife and not being able to take a back seat. Because wives who know that they're supposed to submit to their husbands, there's going to be only one star in a relationship. There's one star that's going to outshine the other. And even in those Hollywood A-list couples where both A-listers are doing well, there's still one star that's getting more play in the airtime than the other. Okay? Now, if they are faith-based, then they probably are going to have a good solid marriage. And I don't care which faith they are. But it looks like Will and Jada are not faith-based. They're Martian-based since they believe in Scientology. So maybe we need to look and see if Scientology has a different set of rules. Maybe in Scientology they learned that you need to smack somebody in the face if they say something wrong about your wife. Maybe in Scientology they learned that you're supposed to have a polyamorous children and open relationship between your husband and wife. And that it does not mean that you're supposed to be man and woman and forsaking all others. I guess that was just God just playing with us. And he really didn't mean for you to have an actual covenant to garner what marriages are supposed to be about. But I'm sending this message to you out there right now, whether you're gay or straight, it doesn't matter. If you're married like everybody else, you need to go ahead and be one-on-one. Because somebody, that third person, might outperform you in the bedroom or have a hotter body than you, and then you're going to be on the outskirts. I hope you enjoyed today's It's Debatable with Attorney Nianza L. Moore. Ladies and gentlemen, be good to each other. So I said be good to each other. I should just say post something nice to Will on his social media page. Or go ahead and post. And if you don't want to post something nice on Will's, post something mean on Jada. Say, girl, it's your fault. We should be like hashtag it's all Jada's fault. It's Jada's fault. Somebody should come out with a t-shirt. It's all Jada's fault. Instead of it being red table talk, it needs to be black table talk. What do the black people think about what happened on stage at the Oscars? What do we think about whack wives of Hollywood A-listers? Should Will divorce Jada? I think so. I don't think they really even have a solid marriage enough. I think that he hit Chris Rock not to honor his wife, who's so dishonorable. You know, she's missed what not to do as a married woman. 953 Chad. Are we off? Thank you. I mean, when you sign off, because your producer said it's time to sign off, and then she's like, keep talking. I'm like, what are we signing off for? We only got 1 minute left. You know, we got to play the outtake for the show. I hope you all enjoyed the show today. Everybody, you were chiming in, you were making comments. I love it. I have to tape yet another show. I'm taping another show. I'm about to sign off right here. So go ahead, Sherelle, and let's get me to sign off on these two. So I'm creating my thumbnail for right now for this show. And since I'm going to be out for a couple of weeks, I'm taping 2 more shows. 1 show today and another show another day.
Which is
Instagram is this one and Facebook is that one. All right. So this one first?
Yeah. No, we're going to do Instagram first.
Okay.
You want to just go ahead and sign out on Facebook.
Instagram first?
Yeah. Okay, so you ready?
Yeah.
Let me get on this. Ready?
Yeah.
Hold your pose for 15 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Say bye.
Bye, everybody.